This is an honorable mention with Jeff Schwartz and Shane Hagedorn.
Part of the Creative Control Network of podcasts.
In the shuffling madness of the locomotive breath runs the all-time loser, headlong to his death. Oh, it feels a piston scraping, steam breaking on his brow. Oh, Charlie stole the handle, and the train it won't stop going. No, it could slow down.
Hey now, happy Two for Tuesday, and welcome to another chapter of An Honorable Mention, the essential Ring of Honor retrospective podcast covering the most successful independent wrestling promotion of this generation. I am your host, Jeff Schwartz, and alongside is my co-host, our expert analyst, the head of logistics and Ring of Honor alumni, Shane Hagedorn. Partner, what's going on?
Not much. Just, you can see I'm kind of like petting my own skin, enjoying the softness of my Teej Hanley face. A week or so of using it, I feel wonderful. But we'll let our sound man Zach Johnson talk more about that with his wonderful ad he has put together for our sponsor of the week, Teej Hanley.
And I've got to put them over as well, because even with a full, thick, disgusting beard that I've got going on right now, it works just as well with a full, heavy beard. So If you're out there, Teej Hanley, you got to use it. It's the one skincare product that is essential for every dude that listens to this show. We've got ourselves an interesting show today.
One that Jeff has been looking forward to talking about since day one.
Yeah, this one was a show I was not even at. But there's a lot of interesting factoids and memorable moments that stand out from this show and stories I've heard. And we're going to take a trip up to Boston.
Or Dorchester.
Dorchester. The home of my good friend Larry Dorr, one of the greatest middle school teachers of all time.
A man named Larry Dorr is from Dorchester.
Yes, D-O-R-R, Larry Dorr.
All right.
You can't scare him. He teaches middle school.
Gotcha.
So he's a fine man. You would know him as WWWF fan from the old Ring of Honor message board days. Mm-hmm. And I think we'll talk about him in a little bit, because he is a fine gentleman, and he and the late Robin Von Trapp, RVT of the old Ring of Honor message board, were at this show, along with Robbie Hart, also of the ROH message board, and three fine gentlemen. And RVT gone but not forgotten. So wanted to mention him, and We'll talk about how you can support the show that we're going to talk about today, Stalemate, by heading over to patreon.com/anhonorablepod, the official home of the HDNet Look Back series, the official home of the shows that are ad-free, the official home of video, the video version of this very show, so you can see our beautiful faces, courtesy of Teej Hanley.
You can see my kid's toys over there that have been moved into the studio for purposes of his upcoming birthday party.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
The big number 5.
Number 5 for Nathan.
But at patreon.com, you also get copies of our formats every week. You get the shows early. You get them on Saturday instead of Tuesday, and ad-free. And you get yourself a 15% off coupon to it'sadvdproduct.com, the official merchandise store of An Honorable Mention. And you can get such great products as that hat that Shane Hagedorn is currently wearing as we're taping today's show, and some fine t-shirts and hoodies hanging behind Shane Hagedorn in his set. You can get such great t-shirts as the Hey Pal, which is a tribute to Sid, former Ring of Honor office member. You can get a tracksuit similar to the Pro Wrestling Noah and New Japan style tracksuits with the Honorable Mention logo on it. A lot of hats, stickers, hoodies. Any particular favorite pieces of merchandise over there?
I really like the work shirt, inspired by a little bit of Colt Cabana and a little bit of a local H band work shirt that I owned, and I'm also a big fan of the "You're gonna get your fucking head kicked in."
Yeah, that T-shirt is available over at itsadvdproduct.com, and one of the benefits of supporting us through patreon.com/honorablepod, as well as itsadvdproduct.com, is with every purchase you make, I'm going to send you a DVD of your choice from my personal collection. That means if you're an international customer, you'll get a Dropbox version of any DVD you want from my personal collection. If you're in the States, I will mail it to you. And to our listeners who are already subscribed on Patreon, your stuff will go out this week. As you know, it's been kind of a chaotic landscape in my life, so wanted to let everybody know of our patrons. Your stuff will go out this week, and you should have it very soon. If you'd like to advertise on our very show, you can do so by heading over to advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. That's advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. We're also sponsored by Collar and Elbow. Use the promo code AHM, get 10% off your order. And a little bit of those profits that they're making off your t-shirt or hoodie or hat purchase get kicked back to us. So we want to thank them for partnering with an honorable mention. We do have some social media to talk about. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at an honorable pod. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/an honorable pod. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Jeff Schwartz. Facebook, drop the, search my name, there's my picture. Partner, where can we find you?
At Hagedorn Shane on Twitter and Instagram, Shane Hagedorn Facebook, Shane Hagedorn YouTube, and make sure you look up an honorable mention on YouTube as well. You can watch the slideshow versions of this, some promos, some non-Ring of Honor matches of the week, including one little gem I just put up for the Supercard show that was Marty Scurll versus Jigsaw, which was a nice surprise to see that existed from a few years ago. And
got a guy that was on the G1 Supercard versus a guy that's from New York City. How fitting.
Yes. And then I've got my Eddie Guerrero archive that I started creating because I'm a big fan. And that's needing the subscriber numbers bumped up there so we can get our custom URL.
And you can also head over and listen to the entire archive of shows at an honorablemention.wixsite.com/main. So anything we reference, if you're looking to follow up on it and learn a little bit more about a particular show or a moment, the entire archive available at that very website. We are, of course, brought to you every week by the Creative Control Network. So be sure to follow the head of the Creative Control Network, our guy, Mr. Joe Feeney. He's on Twitter at JFF, EE, NEY, 3RD, and at the CC Network 1 on Twitter for all the latest news and notes on the ever-growing Creative Control Network. Be sure to follow our scientist of sound, our astronaut of audio, our purveyor of production, the Bassmaster General, the technician of trouble, best broadcast machine, the award-winning Mr. Zach Johnson. He's on Twitter and Instagram at RadioZT, and he delivers us the best intro that you've already heard and the best outro that you'll eventually hear, and make sure we sound cooler than the other side of the pillow.
Guys, I think we can all agree. We always want to look and feel our best, and a big part of that is taking care of our skin. I know it's not something guys like to talk about a lot, because let's be honest, we don't really know a lot about skincare. The products are complicated and confusing when you do try to go down the men's skincare aisle, and also, they're freaking expensive. That's where Tiege Hanley comes in. Tiege Hanley is a skincare company founded by regular guys for regular guys to make it simple and easy. Get the skincare products you need shipped directly to you every month for as low as $25 a month. Plus, if you're in the USA, free shipping. And no matter what your skincare situation is, they've got a box for it. Just need a basic skincare box? Well, they've got that. Got some crow's feet going on, some dark circles under the eyes? They got a box for that. Even if you have severe acne, they have a box for that. Check out all of their products to help out regular guys like you and me at Tiege.com. That's Tiege. Tiege.com to get the men's skincare products you need. Simple, easy, uncomplicated. Tiege.com. Tiege. And use the promo code Honorable Mention for 20% off your first box. So you can't go wrong. It's Tiege.com. Tiege.com/honorable mention for 20% off of your first box. Tiege Hanley. Skincare for men. Simple, uncomplicated.
Well, partner, I think it's time to dive into it. I believe it's worthy of an honorable mention. It is April 16th, 2005, and we are in Dorchester, Massachusetts, at the Dorchester National Guard Armory for Stalemate, presented by Tiege Hanley Skincare, where you can save 20% off your first box using the promo code Honorable Mention, all one word. That's promo code Honorable Mention by Tiege Hanley, 20% off your first box. So we start Stalemate with a little bit of a backstory on why the name exists. So this is one of these shows that occurred that did not have a name going into the event. And Gabe posted on the Ring of Honor message board that the show needed a name and wanted some fan suggestions. And so one of the suggestions that was taken was Stalemate. And that suggestion was made by friend of show and my good longtime close personal friend, Sean Kimmel, a.k.a. Ringlord59 on the Ring of Honor message boards. A great guy, one of my many travel companions over the years to shows and from shows, hosted me in his home, had a bathroom door that would not let me out of the bathroom several times. So shout out to Sean and his horrible bathroom door in the house that he no longer lives in. He named this show Stalemate. So he will live on forever in the Ring of Honor lexicon as the curator of Stalemate.
Nice. Yeah, there were a couple things, like, thinking back on the show that I forgot about because this took place. This was the next show after Best of the American Super Juniors, which is available in our archives from our I can't remember. I think we called it our worst shows we could think of month about a year ago.
Yep. And that's coming again this year. So
yeah, we'll do that again in like June or something. That the day after Super Juniors, before this, was the day of WrestleMania 21. And like, yeah, this story would have fit better there, but it didn't even occur to me that so I'm like, all right, well, what happened in the interim between Super Juniors and this? Well, WrestleMania 21 happened. I watched WrestleMania 21 with myself, my then girlfriend, now wife, Davey Andrews, and his girlfriend, maybe wife. I have no idea.
If you've seen him, please find him and point him in our direction so we know he's still alive.
And Punk, all at my apartment, watching WrestleMania 21. And for whatever reason, it was declared that we must order Pizza Hut and get wings and watch WrestleMania 21 together. So that's one of those like weird anecdotes of my life that I will always have. Like, hey, remember that time we watched WrestleMania 21 with Punk and listened to him sing the Big Show's entrance music? Which was
so,
and then not as the Big Show, but rather as the Big Slow that would people heel on him with for his entrance music. So that was a fun adventure watching a WrestleMania with my trainer.
I wanted to ask, because I knew this story and I knew it was going to come up. What other anecdotes from that night did you pick up from Punk?
That's the main one that like sticks out in my brain. It's been 14 years, so but that is the one that has always stuck with my brain. And then the fallout, the aftermath of said Pizza Hut party being both Punk and Davey no-showing training the following day because they got sick from eating said Pizza Hut, and I had to run training all by myself. Yes.
Who would have been in class the next day?
That would have been the class consisting of Pele Primo, the Dempsey, Smash Bradley, Antonio Blanca. Yeah, that wasn't the time now because Starsmore was visiting the time we made them play Duck Duck Goose. So that was not that day of training. we told them it was going to help with their explosiveness, and that Punk made us, and we claimed that Punk made us do it as well. Play Duck Duck Goose to work on our explosiveness. That's something
I could see Punk making you guys do for his own personal amusement.
Yeah, it was. It did not actually happen to us. It was just.
He's got a unique sense of humor. I think that would have been right up his alley.
Yeah, probably. I'm sure if he would have thought of it, that was entirely Starsmore idea too. That was a good one. Yeah,
genius.
That's a good one from Evan. So, and then this was also the time frame of heading towards Punk being signed. So I was like looking at the schedule, like what I remember stuff from this time frame. I was like, okay. So I took a look at this schedule, and it was April 9th, the week after Super Juniors. He worked the Simply the Best tournament, which I don't even remember what the gimmick for that one was in IWA Mid-South.
I think it was the same thing as TPI with a different name.
Yes, and then which was the same thing as the Strong Style tournament with a different name. Okay, yep. And then I was like, wait, something clicked here. I was like, oh wow, this was the time frame that he worked. He worked some dark matches, and he worked Heat. So I had to play dumb to the office while he was working these dark matches. Ended up being a Heat taping. It was him and somebody whose name I did not recognize whatsoever against oh crap, and I looked at it right before we got on and I forgot to write it down. Maven and somebody else. I can't remember the other one was. But yeah. And then it was
the taping was April 9th?
No. The taping was the 11th. The 9th was the IWA NSL show. And then it was straight to the then it was time for Stalemate. It was a hectic sort of like couple of weeks in between these two shows of training and different shows and different events for him, and I was still pretty new, pretty green. Probably I'd been filming the ringside stuff for about a year at this point and was itching to stop doing it.
Do you know where the April 11th Sunday Night Heat taping took place?
It was the Quad Cities, the Moline, whatever that Quad Cities venue was.
Oh, that would explain it because I'm looking at a different date. I'm looking at 2004 as opposed to 2005. Yeah. But 2004 was in East Lansing, Michigan, on the campus of Michigan State University.
Oh, after they went back there after they promised they would never go there again after they booked a Thunder taping there. Because WWF was very they would piss on their territory pretty strongly, and they had they did Heat there, Raw there, the debut of Mr. Sacco and Yurple and all that was at Breslin Center, and then they booked a WCW Thunder there, and WWF never going back. Nice. They waited till they owned all the competition before they went back to the Breslin Center.
But it strikes me that this time period for Ring of Honor was kind of a transitional time period as well.
4 months into Aries' title reign.
Yep.
We're 4 months removed from 4 months until Punk's gone.
So Maven and Simon Dean would
Simon
defeat
Dean,
CM
that's what-
Punk and Russell Simpson.
I don't know. No idea.
I have no idea who that is.
I don't know. If you click on the link, maybe it goes to somebody else's name because I bet you're looking at Cage Match like I did.
No, I just Googled it.
Oh, okay. But yeah, man, it was a very transitional time. We're still less than a year into being Carrie's baby exclusively. We're less than a year into the Bristol office, less than a year into the school being there, running into the second class, and I think we're still, we're on the cusp of making our debut in New York City proper, in downtown with Manhattan Mayhem after the next show after this, which was exciting. It was just there was a lot going on, and I think it was still fun at this point, even if it was very uncertain what our future entailed. It was still fun.
Well, one of the other things that you see here is that you're seeing other talent featured in heavy spots. The Bryan Danielson Homicide War we're right in the thick of it. You've got Punk mixing it up with Jimmy Rave. And we've kind of talked a little bit about Punk and Rave and their feud when Jimmy came on, available in the archives, 2 episodes worth. And in this case, you've got Bobby Heenan involved too, which is a name we really haven't talked a whole lot about his Ring of Honor appearances. So we'll kind of get into all of that today as we talk about the show. Of course, the hosts for this show are CM Punk and Dave Prazak.
What day was it? What day is the show again? The 16th?
Yes.
Right? So I wrestled Chikara the night before and the night after this too. I had a busy weekend.
Busy weekend.
Yeah, because this is the night before was me and Davey's match against each other from Reading, where we just beat the piss out of each other. And then the night after this was the match where it was me, Davey, Sweeney. Or no, it was just me, Mono Metallico, Crossbones, and Rorschach against Danny Rage, JC Ryder. JC Ryder. You know who that is, right?
I do.
Yeah, Orange Cassidy. Against Jolly Roger and Lance Steele. So I had so then I had Chikara, a day where I did nothing but film because we didn't have dark matches yet at this point, and then I had another Chikara show the day after this. Jesus Christ, I was busy at one point in my life with wrestling.
Welcome to the world of independent wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, another person that gives us a nice hearty welcome is Colt Cabana, as he talks about his double stakes 4-corner survival match and the possibility of him getting a pure or world title match tonight. He has a little bit of jokes for his 3 opponents that night, this evening. That would be Alex Shelley, Samoa Joe, and of course, how could I forget the one, the only, Nigel McGuinness. But at this point, we continue with the theme of good times, great memories, and the little sideshow that was opening, I would say, most DVDs or closing.
It was on, yeah.
It was a pretty consistent thing that was going for a while, and it never lost its luster either, which is something I really enjoyed.
Now had the running joke that he always promised Punk, and Punk never appeared. That was always the running joke.
Yep. But Punk came in to yell at him several times.
Hey, that was unannounced. It was not scheduled guest at that time.
That's true.
So technically, I don't think that qualifies as his appearance.
Well, one guest who would make reoccurring appearances was Bobby the Brain Heenan. And Heenan thanks Cabana for helping him get rid of Jim Cornette, which in hindsight is hilarious, considering as we tape this, we're 4 days away from the Crockett Cup event and Jim Cornette commentating what is basically a Ring of Honor show. featuring the NWA. CM Punk interrupts the discussion between Heenan and Cabana, and he complains that Cabana has scheduled him for Good Times, Great Memories countless times, but never actually had him on. Punk asks Heenan to counteract Prince Nana's interference in his match with Jimmy Rave later tonight, and Heenan agrees to do it as a favor to Cabana. And there's 3 different times during this whole charade where Cabana cracks himself up.
And Heenan cracks him too.
Yes.
Yeah, which I'd imagine these were pretty just freestyled, off the cuff.
Improv the whole way.
Improv segments. And very clearly, Bobby Heenan does not know who either of these people are, despite having done multiple segments with both of them in previous Ring of Honor events. He has no clue who he's talking to.
Now,
and that's actually legit. Where
yeah, I was
statement made to me something along the lines of, he doesn't even remember me. Because he probably, and I don't think it's a secret, because anyone who's a wrestling fan, that Bobby Heenan liked his drink.
Yeah, he liked to drink a lot,
and
especially during this period of time.
He did not seem to remember people's names that he had met many times over,
and that's a direct
meeting them for the first time.
The lack of memory is a direct quote from who?
From Punk.
From CM Punk. Thank you.
Yeah,
so clear that up.
He doesn't even remember. We've met like 10. Yeah, he doesn't even remember who I am. We've met like 7 times. Yeah, it happens.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me to think
it was still fun.
Yeah,
even though this show is a complete and utter waste of paying Bobby Heenan any money. If we paid him, I don't know. I'm going to assume we paid him.
Probably the straight shooting series was probably factored in.
Yeah, like whatever it was, it's a waste of money. The way he gets used overall. In
theory, what would you have done with him?
We'll talk about that when it gets to the match.
Okay. All right, because I have a couple ideas, but I think some of them probably were not logical or possible.
Yeah.
But we go from the trio of comedy artists, Bobby Heenan, Colt Cabana, and CM Punk, over to another style of comedy. We've got Homicide and J-Train. Homicide tells J-Train Julius Smokes, the devil's son-in-law, and all those other various nicknames he gave himself. He says that he's sure the best of 5 series will end tonight in the Lumberjack match. And he's angry, he being Homicide, is angry that Danielson messed with Julius Smokes during his ROH title match. So guaranteed, beat down for sure.
That was not a remote attempt at doing it, was it?
No, I was just reading what I put in the format.
Oh, yeah, wrong. That's it. Yo, beat him down for sure, yo. You fuck with J-Train, boy, I'm gonna fuck you up. You fucked up my world title match against Austin Aries, The Ram, Randy, Macho Man Savage, 21. I'm done.
Okay.
Isn't that the rapper's name? Like Savage 21 or some shit like that?
There's a
musical person
21 Savage.
Okay. Oh, cool. Then yay! I'm an old man just guessing at people's names. So I got it right.
I think it's 21 Savage.
Yeah. I was just going for some.
Google confirms 21
Sweet.
Savage.
So I was close. I just dyslexia'd them.
It's a little bit out of our ballpark of music styles.
Yes, it is.
But after the monumental Best of the American Super Juniors tournament,
monumental failure, motherfucker.
Yeah, that was a colossal disaster, train wreck.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dragon Soldier B.
There were 3 good things that came out of that. The first time Rhett Titus worked a Ring of Honor show. Punk beating up a fan. And Ryan and Spanky.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
Also, BJ and Jimmy won the tag titles. Jimmy Jacobs.
That's more historical than it was good.
That's true.
Terrible.
But that show is available in its entirety in the archives. And at which 4 ROH matches were conducted on that show. So let's see how much they've changed the top 5 rankings for Ring of Honor. We've got ROH World Champion Austin Aries. We've got Ring of Honor Pure Champion Jay Lethal. And then at number 5 in the top 5 rankings, BJ Whitmer. Number 4, Spanky. Number 3, Samoa Joe. Number 2, Homicide. And number 1, the man receiving his title match on this very show, James Gibson.
I don't know why BJ's in there.
I don't know. Why is he in over Jimmy Jacobs? Did he pin somebody? Maybe Samoa Joe?
Nah.
In that tag match? I don't think so. Or Jay Lethal, maybe he pinned? He had to have pinned one of the two in that tag title match.
Yeah.
But we head to the ring and we get to have a very interesting discussion here on the opening match of this show. Because it's going to be way more interesting than the match itself. Kevin Steen taking on Vordell Walker. What in the actual fuck?
Well, Vordell would drive up with Samoa, I guess, sometimes to shows, and I don't know if that was the case with this one, but in general, Gabe had high hopes for Vordell. I mean, he put him in the fucking trios tournament with Joe and Bryan Danielson on the same team. Like, if that's not an example of, as Gabe reminds you, or Prazak or whoever the fuck's on commentary, Prazak reminds you multiple times through this match that it's a big deal. He must be good. He must be the future because Danielson and Joe picked him for their team in the trios tournament. If combined with let's just this match was the shits, and I wouldn't hire and neither of them came out of this looking any good.
No,
neither Steen or Vordell, and I wouldn't bring either of them back if I based it exclusively on seeing this match. This was also the Voice of God show.
Yes, that's what I was looking for with the story.
Yeah, this was also the Voice of God show, which has been talked about in previous shows of ours, as well as shoot interviews and whatnot, where Punk got on the mic before the show and said he was the voice of God, telling Kevin Steen not to wear his T-shirt in the wrestling ring. That was the show.
Kevin, this is God. We do not wear T-shirts here. Thank you. Thank you. Basically, that was it, from what I've been told.
More or less. And as has been said, again, it's on interviews conducted with Kevin himself, and this has been brought up. So it's not like I'm telling tales out of school with this one.
One of the interesting things about having Punk on commentary here is that he immediately just starts burying Kevin Steen.
Yes, he did.
And I love smarmy prick CM Punk on commentary more than I like any commentator in the history of wrestling. Mm-hmm. Jim Ross, Gordon Soley, Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, so on and so forth. Asshole CM Punk on commentary should be doing that for every wrestling show across the globe forever and ever and ever. Because it makes me laugh. Doesn't add anything to the product, doesn't sell DVDs.
No,
but it makes me laugh, and I think that's more important than making a profit. So,
especially when his on-screen character at this point is like the superest, baby faciest that he ever was in Ring of Honor, and his commentary is borderline heel. Yeah, considering neither Steen nor Vordell have defined characters of any kind at this point, they're literally just, well, Steen has a name, let's put him on the shows. And Vordell works FIP shows, and Gabe's trying to build him up, so let's put him on the shows.
And let's combine them into a shitstorm of a match.
Yeah.
Where the true highlights involve commentary. So you have Punk on the microphone talking to Dave. Well, Dave, Kevin Steen's nickname is Mr. Wrestling. I think that's debatable.
Yeah.
30 seconds into the match.
Yep.
Punk wants to know who the fans in Montreal have ever beaten. That they determined that Kevin Steen is Mr. Wrestling. And I think that the lost point here is this is obviously 14 years ago. Kevin Steen, is one of the most entertaining and very similar in terms of his sense of humor, if you will, as CM Punk, which is what makes this so ironic.
Well, but at this point in this match, I'd seen Steen out in other places. We would carry the EWR DVDs in the Ring of Honor offices. So I had seen like his matches against Daniels, his matches against Carino. This was like a tame Kevin Steen. He's barely interacting with the crowd, which is anybody who's watched him in the last decade. That's so not him. To not really interact with the crowd at all. It's very minimal. It seemed like there was a lot of nerves going on here or something from him. And I don't think Vordell was ready. I think he was definitely put into these sorts of positions before he was ready to be in them. And he was also devoid of any personality, so that didn't help either.
One of the other highlights for me in this match is Kevin would head up to the top rope and tries to come off. He kind of stumbles off the top rope. He catches Walker, and they have an exchange. Vordell Walker attempts, I guess, an enziguri, and you just hear Punk chuckle. Mm-hmm. Not calling the move. There's silence from Prazak, and you just hear Punk go, and they continue on.
Yeah.
This is not good.
It's a bad opener.
The finish would come at 8 minutes and 3 seconds. You have Vordell Walker reversing the package pile driver into his spinning sidewalk slam and getting the win here. I noted both guys looked nervous, and the match got really sloppy. And one of the other things about Vordell Walker, he kind of reminded me of what I thought about Batista back in 2005. I thought Batista was terrible. And I might be in a corner by myself with that opinion. I never got him and never understood it until his heel run toward the end there, and the comeback and the heel run then. With the
babyface Batista fresh off WrestleMania here with Triple H, not for you.
Yeah, not for me. So I kind of got that vibe from Walker. It wasn't even that I thought he was bad. It was just I didn't get what was supposed to connect me as a fan to that performer.
He was friends with Brian and Joe. That was pretty much the only selling point that they had for Vordell.
That's a lemon.
Yeah.
Well, we go from nervous and sloppy backstage to the embassy, where Prince Nana and his whole crew are standing by, and they taunt CM Punk. Nana says that he's proved he's smarter than Jim Cornette. Not a big accomplishment to brag about. And he's going to do the same against Bobby Heenan. You see during the course of this promo that Rave is favoring his shoulder.
I love that he's talking about it. That he's using something that happened 6 months earlier as his talking point for why he is smarter, because he brought in, because of the Rock and Roll Express being heels, more or less, 6 months earlier.
And it was like
we will cover that show in October for the 15th anniversary of my first match, by the way. Yes. In that Express reunion.
But it's funny. Rave is favoring his shoulder here, and Nana kind of taps him on the shoulder on the way out, and Rave gives this exaggerated sell.
Jimmy looks so young.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, obviously, it's
everybody
looks so young. It was 14 years ago to the day that we're recording this.
Damn, 14?
Wow. Well done. Bravo. We are recording this on April 16th, 2019. So, it's one of those, like, you forget how long ago it was and how much time can change people. And yeah, Jimmy looks so young, and Nana looks so young, and Jade looks good.
The same.
Yeah. And then, like, Oman. I don't know if you've look up Oman now. He's a monster. Like, powerlifting monster. Go find his Instagram page. It's insane how much muscle he's packed onto his body.
And he's not a tall guy either.
He was lean, and probably might have had an inch or two on me, but he was very lean. So the amount of muscle mass he has put on in the decade plus since is just mind blowing. It's impressive. But wow, it's just, this is a time travel experience. This promo was for me.
And so is this next match, which is El Generico taking on Roderick Strong.
Yeah. 5 years later, this would be a main event on shows and
a DVD mover.
And nothing was a DVD mover at that point.
Okay. But you would get my point.
Nothing was a DVD mover in 2011. But
touche.
But man, it's big baby Roddy. Like, he looks like a big baby at this point. He looks like so young. So, like, by comparison to the way his body has changed, he looks soft here. But man, what a night and day difference from Vordell and Kevin to Roddy and Generico.
And I have to think it's this confidence that Roderick had and brought to the table that helped rub off on the Generico after seeing his partner, his enemy, his travel partner kind of fall flat on his face. You know, Roddy really led this match in the way it was handled. He got his shit in.
I'm the vet. This is my locker room, bro. Doesn't matter. I've been here for a year. It's my locker room, bro. Sorry, 2005 Roddy was kind of a dick.
Well, in October of 2005, he did attack me in the New Yorker bar, thinking I was somebody else.
Yeah.
And it nearly made me pee myself.
But I think Generico's got a better dance partner than Kevin did.
Yeah, and that's
huge difference in that.
World of difference. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I think people started to realize around this time in 2005, Roderick Strong's a guy to keep an eye on as the next of the generations to be a headliner in Ring of Honor. No pun intended. But like the next set, he's in the next round of guys. Once people leave to go to WWE, he's going to get that push back up.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't find
much. It was completely deserving.
I didn't find a lot of fault in this match. I mean, they have the botch on Generico's split leg moonsault where his leg just gets a little caught up trying to do it. But no, this was very solid.
Not only was it solid,
this would have been a better opener.
Yes, 100% better opener. But it felt like a nice preview for what both men had to offer. Generico hits a nice apron DDT and the springboard crossbody in the middle of the match. That was a really cool, something different. Obviously, we get the botch of the split-legged moonsault, like you said. But the fans chant "nice recovery" after that. And I felt like that was not something you'd see in every city. No,
in Philly it would have been a "you fucked up," and New York probably would have been a "you fucked up." Because the people in Dorchester are politer.
No, that's because they have folks like Larry Dorr
and
his residents.
And they have their own Duke.
Yes, we'll talk about the Duke of Dorchester later. Thanks, Gabe. The highlight for me in this match, the one spot that really stands out, is the big boot from Generico. Generico follows that with the tornado DDT and reverses a backbreaker into a roll up for a 2 count. Roddy comes back with a big boot in the corner, German suplex. We get the crazy flipping suplex, and Roddy locks in the stronghold. He was the Messiah, the backbreaker. You got a lot of the classic backbreaker style, Roderick strong here.
I don't even know. Was it called the Stronghold yet? Even at this point? Yeah, at this point, it was not even named. And he was just starting to use it. Use that elevated Boston Crab lion tamer. I guess they didn't want to be calling it a lion tamer on commentary, so they had to come up with another name for it. Yeah. But yeah, I think it was a fairly new part of his repertoire at this point as well. But yeah, it was it was a great example of the potential that both of them had. Obviously, they had a long way to go to become the guys they are now, but they showed the potential that they had and that they worked really well together. And Generico's selling at this point was already a hell of a lot better than most people's on the roster.
Well, and if you think about it, we've had 2 matches and 3 of the guys are on the WWE roster.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know if he took a break or anything, but I do know that I've seen Vordell's name pop back up on my various social media feeds for working shows again.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know what he would possibly need to do that. He's got to be in his mid-40s.
Just saying.
Whatever floats his boat.
DDP got big in his mid-40s.
It's true.
The Flair's Steamboat matches, he was in his 40s.
That's crazy to me.
Just saying.
But if you think about it, though, I mean, Vordell Walker's MMA style, that's kind of all the rage now. So, as long as he doesn't run into Rick Steiner, he should be good.
Oh, God. Wow, I forgot about that.
Well, we head backstage where Nigel McGuinness is posted up, and he says he doesn't care about Cabana's pot shots at him because he's all over. All he's ever going to be is a comedy wrestler. And that was something I know Cabana took a lot of annoyance in, that he was solely a comedy wrestler. Nigel is ready to take things very seriously. He wants a shot at the Pure or the World title, and he doesn't care which. He hopes Cabana can do the same, but isn't counting on it. They've really done a great job building this storyline between the two. Nigel is somewhat threatened by Cabana's new European style that he's mixed in after he spent 3 months in England?
Yeah.
And he's kind of pot-shotting Cabana, shortchanging his inability to stay focused because he's just a ha-ha wrestler, allegedly. And I thought this was a really good, genuine Nigel promo.
Yeah, I forgot how well, because I very clearly remember, the Soccer Riot match that would take place, 4 months later. But forgetting that this started, they were both baby faces. They were both the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Cabana makes people turn evil. I forgot that this was well constructed and well built.
And I thought it was
this kind of plays on, we talked about it. We haven't talked about it in a while, but we talked about it in the early days. The idea that Ring of Honor didn't tell stories, didn't have angles. It was just matches and shit. But no, this is a Nigel and Cabana saga. I think was a good example of a story that Gabe did tell, that was told, both in the ring and in these promos.
Yep, and I like that we're going backstage during the matches. In between is like a little buffer, so it's not just match.
Now, wait a match, and then he does turn into that.
Yeah, it's early on. You're establishing what matters later on in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after Nigel's excellent promo, we head to the ring and we've got Lacey's Angels of Cheech subbing in for Izzy and Deranged. They're, of course, along with Lacey. It wouldn't be Lacey's Angels without them. And they're going up against Dixie and Azrieal.
Forgot about Cloudy.
And, Cloudy's there, too. Special K explodes.
He does not have a washing machine in this match.
Thank God.
Yes.
I enjoyed this match a lot more than I remembered and a lot more than I expected to.
Okay.
I've actually just seen earlier today Deranged is booked on a show in Cleveland. AIW, so might make my way up there if I'm around. I don't remember the date offhand, but so he's taken bookings. We know Special K has done some regathering in recent weeks. Azrieal is part of that. Deranged.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ring was Jimmy Rave and H.C. Loke, and Colby Carino, I think, was involved in the whole thing. It was like, it's fucking weird. The Capital Wrestling spot was fucking crazy.
I have not seen that show yet, and obviously with the previous couple of weeks that I've had, getting to watch a lot of wrestling's kind of been at a minimum premium.
Yeah.
And priority. But I would love to watch that Capital show because there's just so many... Like that, seeing all those guys together again just makes me feel like I was, back in college and young and happy and fat, drunk.
Makes me wish I had a remote bit of free time in my life these next few months to take some bumps somewhere.
Yeah, you could. You and Turner could go team up again and add in. Anthony Franco and go take on the Carnage Crew.
Christ.
On the 50. How about on the 15th anniversary of your debut match? We do the reunion match.
Oh Christ! Yeah.
Ernie Osiris, you want to launch a promotion? There you go.
Yep.
There's your main event.
I don't put butts in seats.
Well, you never know. I'd get in a car. Ain't going on a plane. Doing that enough once the next couple of weeks. But Izzy is not here. I don't know why. There's no acknowledgement. I don't know anybody that does actually know why either. Could be anything.
I have speculative reasons, but it's nothing I will get into.
Yeah. Punk on commentary here gets into a very deep and disturbing psychology behind Lacey playing dress up with angels and them not knowing any better. It's just this interesting little side note that he goes into in the middle of the match. And I mean, if you're watching on Patreon, you could see both of our reactions, but this is why CM Punk is the greatest commentator. I believe CM stands for Commentary Master.
Or Machine.
Commentary Machine would work as well. There were a couple of lines on commentary from him in this match that stood out. That the whole thing with Lacey and her angels and dressing them up and not knowing the difference between which Special K was part of which Special K team. He was in his own element, just having fun, and but they actually did a really good job of having a solid tag team match here. They didn't go too long. It wasn't a huge spot fest. I thought Cheech looked great. They slowed it down also, which I think benefited everybody, so everybody hit their spots. And I enjoyed it.
It was fun. They didn't blow anything. But the one aggravating thing for me, and this is nitpicky, but it was something that was said to me a long time ago by Ricky Steamboat in a seminar. It was about the importance of building up the near falls and kickouts and whatnot in the tag match, that the baby face is breaking up if the baby face is breaking up every single pinfall, then the big pinfall breakup it doesn't resonate with the crowd. And I watched that happen in this match, because Az is breaking up every single pinfall on Dixie, no matter how big or small the move is. So when he does it on the big springboard diamond cutter, the crowd does not react. That should have been like this big, huge fucking near fall, like 1, 2, Az comes out of fucking nowhere to break it up. Instead, it's just yet another move that gets broken up again on a 2 count, not even like a near 3. So that annoyed me. But they did slow it down by their standards of matches. So nobody really blew anything. Everybody, I felt, had a chance to shine a little bit. There's a little bit of stickiness, I think, at first when Cheech first got into the ring. He tries that like weird leggy submission roll thing that just kind of got a little jumbled up. But yeah, on the whole, this was a lot better than I expected it to be. I filmed it. You can see me at ringside in my black hoodie that's like 3 sizes too big for me. I guess that was my way of hiding myself. Eventually I take it off because I was sweating my balls off. But my balls were sweaty. But I had no recollection of this match at all, despite being the one to film it, because it's just one of
8 million other matches
that I filmed. And but what I did think is that this match you get to see personality from the Special K crew, especially from Deranged. I think he shined over the other 3 in that regards, as far as personality.
He was definitely the MVP of this match.
Yeah. Yep. And I think on the other side of it, you get to see Dixie and Azrieal more, I guess, in their Jersey All-Pro mode. More serious wrestling, less bullshit that came along with the Special K gimmick, and seeing that they're more than capable, albeit drastically undersized, even by Ring of Honor standards, to like the Punks, the Joes, Nigels, Cabanas, the guys that are, for the most part, occupying the top of the crowd, a little more muscle mass, and they'd be the same size as Aries. And that's not you mean that as a shot. I mean, like, legit, they're roughly the same stature as Aries. They just needed, put on a little more muscle, and they're the same build as Aries at this point. So I think they had the potential to keep climbing. It just never happened, be it through real life circumstances or booking decisions from Gabe to just let him go, whatever the case may be. They just never got the chance to ascend.
Yeah, we only had like a couple more months left of this crew, with Azrieal being the last one standing.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of ironically enough, like, we're at a time where Special K is doing some reuniting alongside, Slim J, and
it's an interesting. Well, I don't know if Slim J ever really left. But it's an interesting thing that I look at is I see so much of let's just call it my generation.
It is your generation.
The people who started in like the 10 to 15 years ago, dipping their toes back in after extended absences, and I wonder how much of that is due to maturity, coming back as older, more prepared for what it is, how much of that reflects seeing what the indie wrestling landscape looks like now, and that there's 7 million more opportunities than there were in 2004 and 5 that are higher profile, theoretically pay more. How much of that plays into it, and how much of it is just the desire to be able to go back out and have some fun.
And I think that's one of the overarching points for me when I think about these names and seeing them pop up. Like, it's just fun. I'm not going to a show if I see Deranged or Jimmy Rave or Azrieal or whoever from this generation. If I see that name on a show, I'm going to go because it brings back fond, positive memories for me and stuff that I hold close to my heart. And I can tell you, just as a small side note, this period of time in my life shaped a lot of where I've gotten to now. So when I think about 2005, 2006 Ring of Honor, and I see these guys who kind of disappear and don't go on to WWE, and then they come back and I see their name pop up, puts a smile on my face. And isn't that what wrestling's supposed to do in the first place, if you're a fan?
No, it's supposed to make everybody bitch and complain at each other. And the only thing that they can unify on and agree about is the terribleness of the Viking experience. Yes. That is why April 15th, 2019 should be a national holiday, because it's the first time in history.
It's a tax day.
Well, it should be for other reasons. It's the first time in history that the wrestling internet has agreed on one solid fact ever in the history of the wrestling internet.
It's just a shame.
No, so it's not about having fun. It's about hating. It's about hating everything but never stopping watching it. But no, seriously, it should be.
It should be to put a smile on your face.
Fun and enjoyable, and put a smile on your face. And it does. It makes me happy to see the people that were there when I started, and I spent a decent amount of time with. Giving it another shot and giving it a go, and being able to now watch them through the magic of this little thingy right in front of me, computers and phones and tablets and everything, to see what they bring to the table, 15 years later, 14 years later.
Yep. And I think, not having to go into a show with match of the year expectations from everybody.
Yeah.
Guys get to let loose, be a little more loose and just have fun. Try out some new stuff. Maybe just play the hits. You never know. But I think it's great. I did get to see a little bit of Joey Janela's Spring Break 2 or Spring Break 3 Night 2 or Part 2 or whatever it was. Yeah. Featuring the greatest clusterfuck, starring Grizzly Redwood, and Homicide's in it. And Homicide and Teddy Hart have a standoff. That's hilarious that this is happening in 2019. Then they fought Crime Time. That's hysterical.
And Necro was in it.
And Necro Butcher was number 1 and lasted until pretty much the end.
And wasn't the Yeti in it or some one of those?
Mantar,
yeah.
NWO Sting. Grizzly Redwood got to slug it out with NWO Sting.
Yeah. That's the sort of shit that just puts smiles on faces, even if it happened at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Yeah, Grizz went to a full wedding before going to a booking.
Going to the club.
As we checked on him, have you made it to the show yet? Are you at the show? No, still at the wedding. Okay. But the finish would come to the Special K Explodes match, when Deranged would hit Dixie with the code red and immediately gets dropkicked by Azrieal. That's a quick 2 count. Deranged hits the reverse Hurricane Rana pile driver. I guess a poison Rana, if you will.
No, not really. It's the pile driver. I mean, the easiest way to describe it to somebody who has absolutely no way to watch this, unless they get the DVD off Jeff through
It's a DVDproduct.com or Patreon.com. /HonorablePod.
Azriel's kind of almost catching him in the Alabama. He hits the top ropes, does the up and over. Az catches him, but instead of swinging around for an Alabama slam, Deranged turns it around and pile drives Azrieal. The heel team Special K gets a straight clean win in this.
Yep, and that's
Lacey's Angels.
Lacey's Angels.
Lacey's Angels gets a straight clean win as the heel team.
This episode of An Honorable Mention is presented by Patreon.com/AnHonorablePod. Become a patron today and get exclusive perks you won't get anywhere else, like early access to the shows, uncut and commercial free, a discount at itsadvdproduct.com, watch along bonus shows that you won't get anywhere else, and more. Patreon.com/AnHonorablePod. Become a patron today and be someone that's worthy of an honorable mention.
Well, we head next to the Ring of Honor Pure title match, and this was a match that brought great joy to my heart, simply based upon entrance music for Spanky. And Fire in the Disco.
Fire in the
Taco Bell.
Fire in the Disco.
We still have no idea what the band's name is that did that
Hell.
song, but it's a great song, and it's perfect for Spanky. As far as his entrance music goes. The Ring of Honor Pure title is on the line. Pure champion Jay Lethal defending against Spanky. We get Jimmy Bauer in for commentary as Punk takes off to go prepare for his match with Jimmy Rave later in the evening. And this is a great wrestling match. And I don't remember it being as good as it was. I was pleasantly surprised to go back and rewatch this. I really like this, and I want more.
Yeah, it was, and that's perfect way to describe it. It's the kind of match that gives you you get a very great experience, but you want to see more because you feel like these two could do. It's not like they don't have time. It goes like 17, 18 minutes, but you feel like they could kick it up another notch, you know.
There was a point
because this was out of the tag match from Back to Basics.
Mm-hmm.
We got this the random Stevie Richards appearance, but it's just like, yeah, there's something these two. Yeah, could you imagine see this match? I want to see this match now.
That's what I'm saying.
I love me some Brian Kendrick.
That's what I'm saying. I think this could be like a match of the year candidate now.
Not that I wish anybody to be ever fired, but if Brian ever gets fired from WWE and makes his way back to Ring of Honor, I want to see this match. I want to see heel Brian Kendrick of the Cruiserweight tournament against Jay Lethal.
But he has to come out to Panic at the Fire in the Disco.
It's Electric 5, I believe, is the name of the band.
No, that was Jurassic 5. They did the previous song.
It's the Jurassic 5, but it's Electric something.
I don't know.
It's Electric something. Anyway,
Electric 6, maybe?
Yes, there you go. Jurassic 5 and Electric 6. Yeah.
God bless Brian Kendrick and his interesting fascination with numbers and other things.
If that was purposeful, that'd be amazing.
I would not be surprised. Just put it that way.
Yeah.
This is a lot of just back and forth wrestling, like great mat-based wrestling. You don't see these guys doing too much. At one point early in the match, you would see Spanky or Jay Lethal bail, and he's trying to work back the feeling into his arm. Spanky catches him coming out with a suicide dive and tosses him into the guardrail. Lethal spears Spanky back into the guardrail and rolls him into the ring, getting a 2 count. He follows immediately with the snap suplex for 2. And this is where it really picks up for me. This is the perfect style of wrestling. Just competitive move for move. And the selling from Lethal, shaking the feeling back into his arm. The exchanges for holds. We even get the vertical suplex from both guys, followed by a frog splash. Jay Lethal uses his second rope break simply because his arm isn't a cross arm breaker. And we're at the 13-minute point of the match, roughly, give or take, when that happens. I absolutely love the match, and I got to tell you, this probably is my favorite thing on the show. Outside of the promo to end the night. Later.
This is your favorite in-ring thing of the show.
Yes.
Yeah. I was very, very. The thing is, I remembered this being a good match, but not how good it was. This is the sort of like coming out party sort of match almost for Lethal that you really get to see how good he is as a singles guy. I mean, he'd been doing the singles thing separate from Special K for a year at this point, maybe less than a year, but a while. And it'd always been solid. But this was the sort of match that we were just like, wow. And there's so many little things in this match that I love too. There's a spot where Lethal has Spanky in a camel clutch, and he could reach the ropes. He's close enough to reach the ropes, but it's super early in the match, and just the way Spanky sells it, and he's trying to grab Lethal's foot and get it out of the way, and it's little things that I find Spanky, Brian Kendrick, just to be so smart about. And given that, especially in early Ring of Honor, his character, we talked about it with Night of Appreciation, his character was like a goof, or he was crazy, or he was Jeremy from fucking Pearl Jam video. Like, where Spanky as a character had come so far from where he was when Ring of Honor first started. He's just so smart. And so the camel clutch was one little thing. There's one little spot I love where they've had the arm drag exchanges back and forth, and it gets to the point where Spanky goes for an arm drag, and Lethal stops it and just forearms the shit out of him. Which is just at that point, he's like, you see Lethal up his aggression in this. Like, he's done with the back and forth wrestling and just knocks Spanky on his ass with the forearm. There's Lethal has this like running suplex that he used to do. I forgot that he used to do like this running suplex move. He busted it out, and I was like, oh my! That move was. I always really, really liked that move, and forgot that was part of his repertoire until he busted that out. And then there's another little spot, that I made note of, just that continued to show me how smart of a wrestler Spanky was. And it's like Lethal goes for the dive to the outside, and Spanky the dive almost looks like it hit Spanky, but he turns it and sends Lethal arm first into the guardrails. And there's just so many little things that in the way Spanky goes that it just makes me appreciate him even more.
Do we
watching it back?
He fits into the most underrated in the history of the company. Because
besides
he was
me? Yeah, I think so.
What a heel.
I think underrated or underutilized. No, not underrated, underutilized, underappreciated, but I don't know. These aren't the right words, though, to me, because I think everybody knew he was good and appreciated him and missed him when he was gone. We're excited when he comes back. But I think it's those little things and how good he was at doing them it's kind of things that you don't necessarily know what you're connecting to. I think it's kind of the same way I looked at Joey Matthews when he, during his Age of the Fall run, is that he does all of these little things that are underappreciated so well but mean so much.
He knew how Spanky, being Spanky knew like to look into the camera. Like when he had a rear chin lock on, he knew exactly where that camera was, and he looked right into you.
Plenty of TV experience.
From a young age, not even here, post first firing from WWE or second or third or whatever it was. Even at this point, he knew where that camera was, But I'm talking back in 2002, he knew how to play to the camera and play to the crowd and do all these little things, and wasn't afraid to make an ass of himself as a heel.
No, and that was one thing that I did too. But they managed to tell a really good story with this match without anybody being a heel necessarily. I think Spanky takes a little bit more of the heelish tactics at times, but he's not cheating. He's not, everything's done, and they've done with the rules. I think they did a really good job of using the pure title rules. It's pure title at this point was still kind of, it'd been around for almost a year, but it was still nah.
Well, one of the things that I did like is neither guy Spanky maxes out his rope breaks, but Lethal does not.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like that was a step in the right direction to where he's kind of molding his style almost toward the pure wrestling rules, where he's not just a guy in a match with the pure wrestling rules and using his rope breaks.
Yeah. He's
kind of learning how to navigate and save them for the right opportunity when he has to use them.
And then to finish this match, it's straight up pure wrestling rules, and I loved the finish of this match.
Yeah, Spanky hits a plancha. They fight on the apron where Spanky attempts sliced bread number 2. Jay Lethal blocks it, puts on a Boston Crab in the ropes where Spanky cannot get out with a rope break, and he is forced to tap out. It was a solid match, a great match, but it definitely felt like these two guys, without those rope breaks, give them 25 minutes, you could have yourself an absolute classic, long time fans look back on it years later type match. And if the day comes where Brian is future endeavored, Bubba Ray Dudley or Delirious or whoever's in charge over there at the circus, they should be on the phone with him immediately before Vince hangs up,
and
or Mark Carano.
Book it against Jay Lethal for his first match back.
Yep, that's it. That's and then the second match back should be Red Titus.
There you go.
There you go. See, I can book this territory very easy.
Sweet.
Can't be that hard. It's Brian Kendrick. Just put him in a microphone. Just say whatever's on your mind.
Yeah.
What a segment. That would really fit in well with the Sinclair folk.
Oh, good Lord.
You imagine? Well, up next, the Embassy would come to the ring for Jimmy Rave's match with CM Punk. So we've got Jimmy Rave, Jade Chung, Prince Nana. And Punk is flanked by Bobby the Brain Heenan, as well as Oman Tortuga. Diablo Santiago missing in action. And the Embassy come out. Nana threatens to sell Jade back to Sri Lanka if she doesn't act like a footstool for Jimmy Rave.
There's something that was super amusing about the way he pronounces Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka!
Yeah.
Sri Lanka! I'll sell you to Sri Lanka! So Rave takes off his robe and reveals that his arm is in a sling, which plays into the promo from earlier where Nana tapped him on the shoulder and Rave's got an injured arm. Nana says that Rave was injured in an elephant riding accident. I dare you to hear that back for the first time in 15 years and not burst out laughing. Because that's exactly what I did. And it was the funniest thing I had heard all week when I watched this show. So Mike Kruel is assigned to take Jimmy Rave's place in the match. And talk a little bit about Mike Kruel and why he might be the most boring wrestler I've ever seen in my life.
He wrestled for Kettner. Nana wrestled for Kettner. Nana wrestled for Kettner. He was there to be the enforcer type, I guess.
Killer Kruel.
His role, and it just, I don't know.
He always reminded me of that.
It didn't last. He had a match with Matt Stryker of the teaching variety and was never seen again.
Of the Kyle Durden gimmick stealing variety?
Yes. And was never seen again. No, I mean, it's one of those, I guess you can say it was what it was. I knew what his role there was, and he wasn't the guy you're going out there to have 5-star classics. He was the guy they're sending out there just to be a heavy and have a 4-minute match with Punk, as Punk tried his best to Ric Flair that broomstick.
Yeah. boy, was this.
It's just uninteresting. Kruel. The thing is, Mike's not bad. He doesn't do anything bad, anything wrong, anything sloppy. It's just uninteresting.
There's nothing to attach yourself to.
It's there, and it's not to say you couldn't find something to make him interesting, but Gabe did not do anything to make him interesting because that wasn't his purpose. It was just a body to throw at Punk, no different than the weapons of masked destruction were thrown at Jay Lethal and at the Saints prior to this. It was just a body to throw for the Prince to buy and throw at his man's foil, at his man's opponent.
So we did mention that Punk was out with Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan is comes complete with Red Sox jersey. Mind you, Bobby Heenan has talked about being from Chicago over and over and over again. And
hey,
it's a huge.
John Cena came out in a Yankees jersey.
I know. I wanted to throw up. And then I loved his rap, so I was
exactly.
They don't need to throw up now, but like a person from Boston wearing a Yankees jersey is disgusting.
With a Babe Ruth promo video.
Yes, if I wore a Pittsburgh Steelers shirt or a North Carolina Tar Heels shirt or a Michigan Wolverine shirt, I would never be able to live with myself.
What if I just buy you an Art Brown shirt?
What shirt?
Art Brown. Wasn't the guy who bought and sold the shit out of the Raiders and the Cavaliers, the Browns, and
Art Modell.
Art Modell
sold the Browns.
Modell, that's what I was thinking.
Or he stole the Browns and moved them to Baltimore, where they became the Baltimore Ratbirds. And Paul Brown was the coach of the Cleveland Browns, and his family owns the Cincinnati Bengals.
I was thinking of Modell. So
Art Modell's a piece of shit, and I hope he rots in hell. And his bitch-ass son, David, too, who signs autographs with crayons as an adult.
It's amazing. I wish I knew what Heenan said to that kid. Because as Heenan's walking out, he's high-fives somebody, then he stops, turns around, goes back, says something to this kid in the entryway, and then continues about his business.
Honestly, if you asked Bobby at the time, he probably couldn't have told you.
Probably not.
Punk starts running down the embassy and his pre-match promo
to just make my own story up.
Yeah,
Santa Maria has a really good Heenan impersonation.
Really?
Yeah, really good.
Oh man, we should utilize that. Every time Punk swears, Bobby Heenan shakes his head.
I feel like he said something to him about that afterwards. Like, you don't need to do that, sort of. Yeah.
The match lasted all of 3 minutes. Punk would come back with some back elbow. He hits the Manhattan drop. He hits a leg lariat. Tries welcome to Chicago. Nana gets on the apron. Heenan pulls him down. Punk gets a roll up.
I feel like somebody
Kruel didn't want to do the job to his finish.
Yeah, I feel like somebody earlier in the week. This is totally speculation on my part. It's just the vibe I had watching this match. That somebody earlier in the week said to Punk, I want to see what kind of a TV match you can do. Like we do up here. And that's what he did, because it totally feels like a WWE TV match. Mm-hmm. Complete with a straight up manager style WWF from the 80s finish. And that was a really shitty Johnny Ace impersonation, I know.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Oh, okay. But
No,
that's what I feel like. That's what I felt like watching this match.
It's just American Homicide.
Okay.
That's all.
Right. I feel like, that somebody said, I want to see if you can do a WWE TV match, and that's what he did with Mike Kruel. Because that's exactly what it feels like. There's no shine. It's an immediate cutoff from the heel, bump around for the heel a little bit, get your comeback, and then you get to finish.
Interesting theory.
That's what it felt like to me.
That kind of stands out to me is that Kruel went to Ohio Valley Wrestling.
Yeah.
At some point. I don't know whether it was before this or after this. Might have been around the same time that Punk left and went, because I know they had some matches down there. So Punk gets the win, 3 minutes, and after the match, Bobby Heenan grabs a microphone. He puts over ROH, of course.
And I think we should definitely point out that literally this is about the only thing Bobby Heenan does. Mm-hmm. But he holds Nana's leg and then talks.
Mm-hmm. He predicts big things for Punk's future, and then he walks out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if
that's-
Bobby was not. I don't know if Bobby was, too unsober to do anything.
Maybe he wasn't
don't
feeling
recall.
well. I mean, he was dealing with the cancer at this
I don't
point.
recall. I'm safe bet he probably did an autograph signing. We were selling his book from through at the merch table and on the website. We did
For
have
$20.
maybe $19.99. But yeah, I don't. I just think watch him like we paid him for this. I hope we didn't pay him for this. I hope we just let him keep his autograph signing money or something, because this is not worth paying money for.
Yeah, this is not the best Bobby Heenan appearance that Ring of Honor would see.
No.
It felt flat. It fell short of what I would have expected. I would have been disappointed if I was at this show.
Yeah.
But Bobby taking a powder from the ring leads to Jimmy Rave attacking Punk from behind. They'd brawl into the crowd. We know Punk and Jimmy Rave do fun things when they go into the crowd.
No fans were harmed in the filming of this segment.
But Jimmy Rave was, as Punk beats him with a chair. This goes on for quite a while. I guess you got to give them something instead of, a 3-minute Punk match.
Yeah.
No Jimmy Rave. Punk attempts the Pepsi plunge, of all things. But the Embassy attacks. Punk fights them off for a while. The numbers catch up to him. And Jimmy Rave wraps a chain around his neck. And they hang him over the top rope. An interesting foreshadowing to what was to come.
Of course. Oh, and that's what the post-match promos, that's all this really is. The match is whatever. It's the brawl and the promos. The repeated promos, because as we mentioned with Spunky, that's my cat's name. Spanky and working the camera. Punk is another great example of somebody who is always looking for that camera to talk into and sell towards and feed towards. He's always looking for the Jimmy's camera at this point, or mine, and just if it was in my camera, you didn't get to see the interviews at all. That actually did happen on one show where you can watch him cut a promo into my camera, and you're watching it on the hard camera. It's great. The camera would show it is. We may have even talked about it before, but yeah, there's one of the great examples of the awesome level of Sal Hamoy's editing in 2005.
The big save is made. Cabana out, Vordell, Walker out, Jay Lethal, Davey Andrews, Dixie, Azrieal, all out to make the save.
Davey comes running out with a sandal in his hand. It's hilarious. I remember him talking about it. He was so excited. Did you see? I'm going to run out with just the most ridiculous weapon I can think of in my hand. And he ran out carrying his sandal. One sandal on, one sandal off. Swinging it around, trying to fend the Embassy off with a fucking sandal.
You know who Davey Andrews is? He's Barry. You watch HBO, Barry? The show Barry on HBO with Bill Hader?
No.
I highly recommend it. That's Davey Andrews.
I said Davey was 20 years old. 21, maybe, freshly 21 around here.
Yeah. That's the character Davey Andrews is portraying.
Yeah.
Is modern day Bill Hader's Barry. Great show. Highly recommend it. But anyways.
Some point in this time frame is when we took him out for his 21st birthday and got to a place that didn't have a liquor license and got Antonio Blanco illegally drunk. Because this place didn't have a liquor license, so they didn't card anybody. They just kept pouring us shots.
Wild West.
It was called Porky Porky's. It was a Korean barbecue buffet style. It was great. Wish it was still there. I miss it. I mourn it.
Well, one thing that I did note in this is this was any other company, this would lead to a big multi-man tag match.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
We'll be right back. It'll be a tag team match, player.
We're going to have a tag team match.
And then The Undertaker will be a part of it. That's who you'll be facing.
Instead, it's 13 different promos. Punk just keeps cutting promos into the camera. I love that he's like shoving everyone away. Like, get the fuck away from me until after he's done talking. Then he like, all right, then I'll talk to Cabana and Davey. Everyone else get the fuck away from me. Vordell, don't touch me.
I feel like that was something he probably said.
Yes.
Don't touch me.
Yeah.
Get away.
And then he gets halfway up the ramp and continues to cut a promo. Like this for 5 minutes talking after you have to do it. But it sets up the dog collar match for Manhattan Mayhem, so.
Yep. And if you'd like to hear us talk about Manhattan Mayhem and some of the experiences we had, including me driving into Manhattan like a moron, well, there's a poll coming your way.
Tomorrow, actually. I will put it up the day after the show drops, so we have plenty of prep time in case life happens to us some more.
Oh, God, no more. No more life.
I think we owe everybody an HDNet episode for
We
Patreon.
Do. Yeah, we do.
Because of life.
Yeah, they understand, but we need to do that this week.
Yeah.
But we head to intermission first. And intermission, we have a Roderick Strong and Aries backstage promo.
No, we have an Aries promo in which
With
Roderick Strong stands there for 5 minutes while Aries talks. He does a little bit of that mouthing, but he mostly just does wringing his hands together and licking his lips for 5 minutes of Aries talking. Gabe's like Roddy going, yo, Gabe, what am I supposed to do? Just stand there and do this while Aries talks. All right. And then Aries talks for 5 minutes while Roddy just stands there.
Well, Aries talks. He talks about all the places he's defended the Ring of Honor title. He calls them territories where the title was defended. Territories are dead, but that's okay. We'll let it slide. He warns the person who wins the ROH World title shot in the four-way tonight that Roderick Strong is a roadblock for anyone who would come for his title. Of course, Roddy was in the Arn Anderson to Austin Aries Ric Flair role. Part of Generation Next. That's so distracting. If you're watching on Patreon, what Shane is doing right now is exactly what Roderick does, the bulk of the promo. Now, I don't think he's jerking off his fingers, but nevertheless. And then we head immediately into the double stakes four-corner survival match. And I like this idea for a match.
So do I. It's a shame we never, ever, ever, ever did it again.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Why nobody has taken the opportunity to revive this tremendous, great idea, I have no idea.
Gabe, we're putting you over. So just steal this and do it again at Evolve. You have like 7 belts between the WWN companies, so you could do this.
Yeah. This four-corner survival match, too, is an interesting combination because I always enjoy Alex Shelley and Samoa Joe interactions, and we never got the one-on-one match between the two. That's like the one Ring of Honor match that never happened that I just was desperate to see. And speaking of Gabe, I remember telling him one time, I'm like, I want to see Joe and Alex Shelley. Like, let's see if we can make that happen. And he was like, I'll try. See where we can fit it in. And then he never did. So, but Alex Shelley, Nigel McGuinness, Colt Cabana, and Samoa Joe, the uncrowned Ring of Honor champion, having a 2-fall match. The winner of the first fall gets the pure title shot. And that person that is pinned or submitted or eliminated in any way, shape, or form is gone as well. And the remaining 2 men would have a singles contest to determine a contender for the Ring of Honor World title. One minor complaint that I have here. I would have made the Ring of Honor World title match the first fall.
I remember thinking the exact same thing in 2005. Watching it back now, didn't make a difference to me because then for the final fall, we get 2 new faces who have never had a world title shot before, fighting over that world title shot.
That's very true. I just think your most important featured belt should be the very first thing that everybody's going for.
Mm-hmm.
And the pure title is not necessarily a consolation prize, and maybe that's why it was first, because Gabe was trying to make it something everybody wanted. But
I think
it's 6 ways, a half and a dozen the other. Just a personal preference. I would have the world title.
No, 2005, I completely agree with you. It's only in retrospect that and the way everything plays out through this match that I look back, that I watch it now and think that I'm good. I'm good with how it happened.
The start of this match is really a lot of fun too.
It's really British.
Yeah, you've got a lot of Cabana chain wrestling and Nigel attempting to tap out Joe, which is in complete reversal of what it should have been with Nigel and Joe. Cabana and Nigel, of course, going at it. Cabana trips Nigel and gets a 2 count, which I always thought was a cool little spot that he did. I don't think he does it much anymore. He's kind of
he
phased
doesn't
that
wrestle in
one.
Ring of Honor.
He did wrestle on the show that was in Columbus yesterday, as we're taping this on the 16th. However,
they had a show on a Monday?
Well, we're taping on what day?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
This was 2 days ago. Okay.
Yeah, 2 days ago. Okay. Well, you know where my head's at.
No, that's a good deal. Because I never saw the results from the TV tapings or from Columbus. So
yeah, he wrestled Nick Aldis.
No, it's good to hear. I like that he wrestled.
Or is it Magnet? No. Yeah, Nick Aldis.
Yeah,
Nick
same
Aldis.
person, different name.
Okay, I couldn't remember which was which.
Next week, he's the Aldis Experience.
Yes. Well, we would have quite the experience as Joe would tag Cabana out and Shelley goes to work on Joe's arm. And we get a little bit of interaction between Joe and Alex Shelley for the first time. And boy, was I a happy camper.
I enjoyed this so much. Well, even before this. So before Joe gets in the ring, there's this little spot where he's on the floor because kind of everybody really comes up for the British stuff between Nigel and Cabana, and Joe just kind of like settles down to the floor, and there's this little kid like holding his replica belt like in Joe's face that I can't help but Joe doesn't even acknowledge the kid, but I'm like popping for it as this little kid's like holding his WWE replica belt in Joe's face. But then when he gets back in the ring, I love this stuff because Joe's like Joe doesn't want to wrestle. He's just trying to beat the shit out of somebody. And Shelley keeps getting wrist locks and hammer lock and like different moves. And Joe just keeps trying to like forearm misses. And there's another hold. So when Joe finally gets to nail Shelley in the face with a forearm, I feel like I just kept having to go with that until it made a sentence that didn't sound like a porn. That it like the crowd pops for it, and I popped huge for it because Joe just kept wanting to like hit Alex Shelley, and so when he finally gets to it, I was like, yes.
Well, and to me, they were like the perfect, Batman and Joker, if you will, where Joe is this like beloved centerpiece babyface, and Alex Shelley is this smarmy prick.
But at this point, he was a baby face ish, because that's what's weird is that this entire dynamic, you have 4 baby face ish characters as well. Joe, who just at this point could not be a heel if he tried in Ring of Honor. Nope. Nigel's still a babyface, and the Cabana's a straight up babyface. And then Shelley is on his redemption tour post Generation Next still, where he's been rejected by everybody and heading towards the embassy because he can't find his babyface home. But at this point, he was still trying to be the good guy.
And I think Alex Shelley, with his delivery of that like redemption story, it felt so phony to me in the right way. Mm-hmm. The whole time, like anytime he would do a promo about how, he went in a different direction than Generation Next, but they fired me, they kicked me out. Like it seemed genuine, but at the same time, like the smarmy dickhead Alex Shelley was there. The character of Smarty Dickhead. I don't know Alex on a personal level, but it just seemed like it was just kind of, biding his time before it came out to play. And then, he joins the embassy and the line is, I didn't sell out, I bought in. Mm-hmm. And we, of course, know where that goes. But this this match itself, I thought it was so much fun to see Joe just wallop him.
Well, and Joe was he was the violence of this match, because then you've got that with Shelley. You've got Cabana and Nigel getting back in there and going back to the European stuff. Nigel gets into the headstand, and eventually Joe just gets pissed off at Cabana's inability to figure out this headstand. He just fucking face washes Nigel's face off as Nigel's up in the headstand, and I popped huge for that spot. Again, it's because it's just Joe provides like such a different dynamic to this match from the other two, because Nigel hasn't taken on those for lack of a better, like the strong style elements to his repertoire yet, the way he would as a champion. So Joe's the hitter in this, and it just that entire spot where he knocks Nigel out of the headstand, and just the way he sells it, and the way he's like cursing out Cabana for being a bitch and not knowing how to do it, and Joe's frustration at just having to watch these guys just grapple around. I love that spot right there.
One of the interesting things to me is there's a spot shortly before the first fall takes place where Nigel tries to tag Alex Shelley into the match, but he wants to fight Aries, he being Alex Shelley, so he refuses the tag. And it's interesting, he also didn't want to fight Joe.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this interesting combination. You kind of see like the intentions of each wrestler reveal themselves slowly before the match continues.
Mm-hmm.
Joe would hit the Toyota Honda. I'm thinking of Honda's first name, and all I could think of was Toyota. I'm stuck.
All I can think of Toyota is Manami Toyota.
Yeah, I'm stuck in work mode. But Honda, he hits the Honda slaps and a power bomb for 2.
You talking about Honda, as in the fucking Street Fighter character?
Maybe that's what it is, but
Okay.
I know they were just called Honda slaps.
Yeah, it's from Street Fighter.
That would explain things. But it's that.
Yeah.
So Nigel reluctantly makes the save after an STF is put on, and he hits the hammerlock DDT on Cabana. He's not the legal man, so he can't get a pinfall. Shelley drop kicks Nigel out of the ring, dives onto him on the floor, and Samoa Joe puts the choke on Colt Cabana and gets the first win in the first fall.
I just like the way he does it. He just kind of like walks up behind Cabana and it's just like, fuck it. Like, I felt like I had that moment feeling like there was some debate in Joe's part of whether or not he wanted
He wanted another shot at Aries,
or to go claim the belt he hasn't had yet.
Yeah. Does he want to go after his protege?
And go after his protege. Yeah.
T-shirt available at itsdvdproduct.com.
Yes. So yeah, that's a great first fall.
So we've got the choke on Cabana. We've got Shelley cutting Nigel off. And we've got Shelley and Nigel as the survivors here going at it for the Ring of Honor World title shot. And I think the finale of this match is just as good as the first portion of this match.
Yeah.
If not better. Cabana distracts Nigel and Shelley takes quick control. They would trade forearms. Shelley gets a drop kick to the head, which was kind of a cringeworthy spot, but I think it was fairly safe. Shelley attempts a bunch of his signature maneuvers during the course of this 8-minute segment. The first fall, by the way, took place at 17 minutes and 49 seconds. There's a strike exchange, and I thought at this point, like, this one was going to go either way. I could not remember who won this match, but once it was over, I was like, oh, yeah, because I did see the actual title match in person. Did you kind of have a recollection of the finish to this match, and what did you think?
No, I didn't. I mean, I remembered who went up in the match, but not how it got to that.
Yeah, it took me to get to the final two before it really clicked with me.
Oh no, see, I didn't remember all that. It was just like the actual execution of how Shelley won the match. I didn't recall. I remembered, that it was Joe and Cabana and Nigel and Shelley. And again, I really liked that it was Nigel and Shelley because either way you've got a new face either way getting a shot at the world title. And I mean, I think once it gets down to those two, you kind of. We're going to New York City for the first time, not Queens, and into New York City in the New Yorker Hotel connected to the Hammerstein Ballroom, Manhattan Center. And it made perfect sense that we would go with Shelley because that's a story that's been building for 5 months, is Shelley getting his shot at Austin Aries in retaliation for booting him out of his own group in Generation Next.
And I'm telling you guys now, I'm voting for Manhattan Mayhem in the poll.
So am I. I will as well. I will vote for Manhattan Mayhem #1.
So there's a lot of fun stories about that night, that show, the whole deal that we can talk about if you guys choose that in the poll. But Nigel hits the ropes after being locked in the Border City stretch. He blocks a tornado DDT and goes back to work on Alex Shelley's arm. He drop kicks the arm. He hits a hammerlock DDT. Tries the hanging neck breaker. Shelley hits a tornado DDT with the bad arm and then hits the shell shock for the win. 25 minutes, 22 seconds. Arguably a very long match, but absolutely awesome.
Long, but it kept going. Like I never felt bored.
No. There was never downtime.
It told multiple stories between the different guys involved. I felt like it was a very layered pro wrestling match, a well put together pro wrestling match, and I was a fan of this one when it happened, and still am.
Yeah, I think the winner too.
I was sweaty and I'd lost my hoodie at some point in between these matches.
The right winner for this shot at Aries in New York, I think too.
Completely.
What makes it more special. And like I've said before, I think that might have been Aries' best match in Ring of Honor.
The Manhattan Mayhem one?
Yep. I think it's certainly it's close to what's on this show too.
Yeah.
But we've got a couple more matches to go on this show. And up next is certainly one that will have the people talking. And it's the reason this show is called Stalemate.
I have to correct you on one thing, that it's called Stalemate for a couple reasons. Both the last two matches.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I completely forgot that the whole point of having the Lumberjacks was to, in the main event at least, is to lead into another tie heading into the show the weekend that came after this, the cage match in Dayton.
No, it came a month later.
Yeah,
because we still got Manhattan Mayhem after this.
Oh yeah,
so where they got a cooling off period or whatever we called it at that point.
Well, Brian wasn't on the show,
and then set up the weekend of cage matches. Yeah, but I feel like we called it a cooling off period or something like that as a kayfabe.
Well, interestingly enough, the first reason this show is called Stalemate is our Ring of Honor World Title match. James Gibson taking on the Ring of Honor World Champion Austin Aries. And this is one of those matches that I think gets lost in the annals of time in Ring of Honor. It's an absolute classic. It's good. Every James Gibson match was, for the most part, with the exception of Jimmy Yang.
Classic. Hidden gem, I'll go with.
I look at it as a hidden gem, but at the time it was like one of those matches where fans were talking about this is going to be the best match we ever see. And it's ironic because we're taping this second part of the episode today on the 17th, I was reading Twitter this morning, and Dave Meltzer mentioned that his favorite match of all time was Okada and Omega from Osaka last year. And
His favorite match of all time.
All time.
In his entire 60 years of life, that is his favorite match.
Yes. But he said that he's not sure it's going to be the greatest match of all time that he ever sees because wrestling is constantly getting better.
Yeah.
And guys are getting more athletic, more creative in their finishes. And, 14 years ago when this match was happening, I remember getting the DVD in May or maybe early June, probably.
Probably June.
I remember watching it because I was not at the show and thinking to myself, like, wow. Like, not only is it a great finish and it continues their story, it sets up what I feel like is the best run for Austin Aries during his title run of matches. You had the 2 Gibson matches. You had the match with Alex Shelley on Manhattan Mayhem. And I think those 3 matches together really were what he really needed to get that next step in his title run.
Oh, that's right. I forgot they had the follow-up match in Dayton.
Mm-hmm. It was... I think Aries' run produced a lot of great matches, but nothing overly memorable, I guess, until the end.
Well, I don't think any of it is. Yes, good matches, but I don't think any of them are heralded amongst the best Ring of Honor has ever had to offer.
No. And I think for the most part, when you think about Austin Aries as a champion, you think of the shocking decision to have him somehow get past Samoa Joe at Final Battle, and the turn, the turn from Gen Next of Alex Shelley kicking him out. But at the same time, you also think back to, the tag matches with Roddy. And that kind of takes away for me from just how good his singles run was here.
Yeah, I think the winning of the belt is the defining moment of his title run. Absolutely. and not so much any of the matches. Which is unfortunate because there's I said we're both big fans of the Shelley match that happens after this. Big fans of this match. Big fans of the other Gibson match. A big fan of the match with Brian from Nowhere to Run. What else? I enjoy the Homicide match from Super Juniors. What else was there? Back to Basics. He didn't defend the belt. Trios tournament.
A super underrated rematch with Samoa Joe.
Yeah, they're all the third anniversary celebration. The Cabana.
The Cabana
cage match.
There's 2 off the radar matches.
Even the Punk match where he lost the belt.
Right. But there's 2 super underrated matches that I don't know if you've ever seen. I've only seen them courtesy of YouTube. But there is an Austin Aries Super Dragon match from February of 2005 for... the event was called A War Before Valentine's Day from PWW, Pro Wrestling War.
Yeah. That was not an official title match.
Well, it's labeled in here as a title match, so...
I'm pretty sure we never called it a title match in our official title history we kept on the website. Because he had outside title defenses against Kevin Steen that we recognized. One against Aries. There was another one outside. The one in Mexico, the 3-way with Super Crazy.
And Ricky Marvin.
And Ricky Marvin. That was one that we recognized that was outside the company. But I don't think we recognized a Super Dragon title defense.
Well, ironically enough, there's a Super Dragon one. There's an Adam Pearce one, which that's an interesting meeting of the minds.
That was not on the title history when we used to keep one, because I know they don't have a title history now on the website. As far as like we had on the old ROH website where it literally detailed every single match. They did not maintain that their last upgrade update to the website.
upgrade to the website would be a interesting way to.
That's why I said update.
But I mean,
I think this one. I think with this one, if it would have had an actual finish, it probably would be a lot more remembered than it is.
I think the non-finish is what makes it so memorable. I love the idea of, okay, I remember unanimously when Gibson was released from WWE, Diggity Dog 46, username on the ROH message board, posted, should we bring James Gibson in? Remember the old bring in threads? Well,
yes.
Gibson is the only guy that was unanimous, top to bottom. Everybody wanted him, and he posted a thread every single solitary day until Gabe announced the fact that Gibson was coming in.
Yeah, because
everybody was so united. It was the complete opposite of the Viking experience.
That there was everyone was united in that too, just in their dislike for it.
Yes.
And that was one of those ones where y'all didn't need to band together to tell us to bring in Gibson. That was kind of a no-brainer. Bringing in Gibson, bringing back Spanky, those are kind of no-brainers.
And, the thing is, when he came in, everybody was so excited, and he delivered immediately in his first match. Yeah. So you saw the effort that was being put in, and I
think that was only 2 months before this.
Yeah,
because that first match was February in Dayton,
against Spanky.
Uh-huh.
And the effort, the hard work, the genuine charisma and connection he had to the crowd right away. You knew, at least I knew, that he was going to be the champion at some point. I thought for sure he'd be the guy to beat Aries, because I was not expecting Punk to ever get the belt. Just not a knock on Punk by any stretch of imagination. I just didn't see how it fit into the timing and the lexicon of where we're at with Ring of Honor. So with Gibson getting shortchanged in this match and some of the other things that were happening against him, the roadblocks being put up, like Roderick Strong, for instance, to me, that made the non-finish here confirm my suspicions. He's getting the belt. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Mm-hmm. I like the finish. I like the finish the way it was done.
That's the thing.
It's one of those. A non-finish makes me wonder if it affects the long-term, long-term memory of the match.
See, and I don't think I would have remembered this as well. Like, I distinctly remember the finish and how it all worked out. I remember the Brainbuster trade that they did in between. There was the Aries tries the 450 splash and Gibson ducks out of the way, and then they go back and forth with Brainbusters. And I just remember that the first time I watched the match, thinking holy shit, this is crazy. And I remember at the time I had this list in a Word document, or WordPerfect, I think is what I was using at the time. A list of my favorite Ring of Honor matches that had happened. And every time something would jump, I would find room to insert it somewhere else. So this match happened to head all the way into the top 10. Which was kind of a hard thing to crack.
Yeah.
At the time. And I think I must have given up on that list over the course of the summer. Because it just got to be too hard. There were a lot of shows. There were a lot of great wrestling. We were so fortunate to be around this. And you on the other side of the rail up close to such incredible wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the same. And I've talked about it before. That's what's weird about watching it as a cameraman is, they have that filter of the lens that you're not really able to appreciate it as much a lot of the time. There were those matches that I was able to I would just kind of take the camera from here and just kind of hold it over here and watch. But a lot of times, I'm looking at it through the lens, and that it's like another filter of watching it. So it's sometimes I didn't appreciate them in the moment. It would only when I was able to go back and watch them that I could really appreciate some of the matches.
And this
one of many reasons why a month later I was done with running the camera.
I think this is one of those ones where you're just like, if you were there for it, this is your match.
Yeah.
I know some people that to this day will tell you a match happened in their hometown or in their home market, for instance, and that's the match they're loyal to the most, is their favorite all-time Ring of Honor match. Obviously, for me, Joe Kobashi, I don't think anything will ever eclipse that kind of emotion and energy.
For me, it's Brian and Kenta because of a myriad reasons.
And that's hard to overcome that emotion.
Yeah.
Because you can't recreate it. And the further we move away from it, the whole point of this podcast is to keep this history alive and to tell this story. And this James Gibson run in Ring of Honor is a story that has gone ignored. There was no best of compilations. There was no...
I don't know why we never did that, come to think of it. I did. That was something that...
Because literally every match you could have put on there.
Yeah.
Outside of Jimmy.
Pretty much Jimmy Yang. And all of his singles matches, some of the tag stuff, yeah. But I don't know why we didn't do it. It's a...
Well, before we talk about this specific match, let's talk about it. Well, I mean, there's some details and highlights that we have to list for the fans out there that want to seek this thing out, or maybe want to get it as a bonus for their itsadvdproduct.com order or Patreon subscription. But what were some of the other James Gibson storylines that we could have explored in Ring of Honor that just never came to be?
I don't know, lynching J-Train. I mean, it was one of those things, like, I don't know if it was delivered as a rib or as a serious question, but yeah, like the idea of when he was in the midst of stuff with the Rottweilers of, like tying J-Train up and dragging him around behind the car or something like that. The one I always wanted, and I remember me and Davey Andrews talking about it and never got it, was the idea of almost like a new Southern Boys sort of thing with Gibson and Tracy Smothers. Like, that was never a thing. I don't know if it was. The idea of that was something that we would talk about on car rides, of how awesome they would be as a tag team together.
The idea of a new Wild-Eyed Southern Boys faction. You could have had, Tracy as like the sort of Tommy Rich role with the FBI. This could have been Ring of Honor's version of the FBI, where you didn't necessarily need to be a Southern boy to be in this gang.
Like the Briscoes.
Yes, the Briscoes would have been a perfect fit here.
Yeah.
You could have had, I'm just thinking out loud here, Trevor Rhodes, who was working for Ian Rotten at the time, would have been a perfect guy as like the big, heavy, hitter, the monster of the faction. Or you could really just go off the reservation and somehow Jay Lethal's in the group.
Yeah,
he's your new JT Smith.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it could have been. That was all just a fun idea, and just I constantly would think of ways how could you get Tracy Smothers in the Ring of Honor.
And I think for the most part that may have been my most constant thing that I would mention to Gabe was Tracy Smothers fits here.
Yeah,
Tracy and Too Cold Scorpio were my two biggest. I think we could shoehorn him in here. Hey, he's a car ride to here.
Yeah, because of the time frame of this show, and kind of what we go out on at the end of the DVD, it made me think of Candido too.
Yeah, that would have been a great one to put with him, even just as a straight tag.
Gibson
and Candido would have been a lot of fun. You could have, the idea of this resurgence of this kind of a lost generation of work rate guys.
Yeah.
Tracy Smothers, Chris Candido, Dr. Tom, I think, was probably working for WWF at the time.
Did you just book Dr. Tom into Ring of Honor?
I mean, he was a hell of a wrestler.
Wow. You might be the first person in the history of life in the last 18 years or 17 years who would have suggested that.
I like Dr. Tom Pritchard. I'm a huge fan of his in-ring work. And to be fair, like, as much as I don't agree with everything Jim Cornette says, I love Smoky Mountain Wrestling. So I have a soft spot for a lot of those guys that came through. I think Bobby Eaton would have been a bit too old at this point.
Bobby Eaton looks like my stepdad, or my stepdad looks like Bobby Eaton. I'm not sure which one's older.
Maybe on Patreon we have a side-by-side photo put up. But interestingly enough, like, all those guys, like, there's so many of them that are just lost in terms of their... They never got to the DVD era, the DVD product era. They never got beyond, like, they never got to the WWF, so you never saw that. TNA, for whatever reason, ignored them, excluding Chris Candido there. I just feel like there's a gluttony of guys. Even, America's Most Wanted, Storm and Chris Harris, they were a great tag team and could have fit in here, but they were TNA loyalists and never really made it. They would have fit in with the Gibson group.
I think there's so much we could have got out of Gibson. I mean, I know we're talking about his demise, which isn't until another 5 months after this, but still, it would have been great. Okay.
The number one James Gibson fan, soon to be 5-year-old Nathan Hagedorn, making it in.
Exactly.
But this match in particular, to highlight a couple of interesting parts of the match. First of all, I love the opening sequence. They kind of do the testing out phase, kind of seeing who can outdo who. Aries immediately goes for his explosive elbow. Gibson catches him with a quick power bomb. We get a quick Gibson dropkick. Aries goes to the floor, and then then there's the slingshot crossbody from Gibson. Gibson would throw Aries into the guardrail, and they would exchange tosses into the guardrail. The fans are hot for this whole thing, and I think by the first 5 or 6 minutes of this match, I think there was a certain segment of this audience that thought we might see a title change.
Yeah. Gibson, I look at as one of those guys who was viewed as the underutilized talent by the WWE when he got signed, and so that's the Ring of Honor fans tended to rally behind that type.
I remember a few years later, D'Lo Brown came in, and it was kind of the same idea.
Yeah.
Without the execution from D'Lo.
Yeah. Brent
was another one.
I think Albright people felt like Albright was one of those guys who was, they thought he was used badly on TV, and we should have brought the pirate guy in too then.
Virgil was great. Sure. Yeah. I think he actually did one of those FWA.
He did
shows. I think there's a lot of those guys that were tossed aside by WWE in this era that would have fit in Ring of Honor. Tank Toland, another one,
and he was later brought in and underutilized by Ring of Honor as well.
Greatly underutilized. I thought Tank was
But,
an incredible character.
yeah, but Gibson shined. He was one of the ones who shined very much.
And probably more so than anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had a chip on his shoulder. And I think that's the biggest reason he and Aries had such great matches together.
Because they both had chips on their shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that self-motivation really, when you mix it together, it's not an insult or anything. I'm a guy with a chip on my shoulder. And
I think it's something else completely different, I'll tell you.
Were you thinking it was a tiny chip on Austin Aries' shoulder?
No.
I mean, I didn't make the short joke here. Yeah. I definitely think that this inner drive to be if you feel slighted and underused by corporate America or overlooked by people, it adds this extra bit of fire inside of you. And I have that in everything I do. I feel like people are out to get me, so I'm out to prove them wrong everywhere I go. And Aries has it. Gibson had it. And I thought that it just helped make their matches magical. And I love this match. One of the other great highlights toward the middle section of this match is Aries gets a backslide. Gibson would reverse it into the trailer hitch. And it's just such this smooth, flawless transition that I think was the lasting impression I got from every Gibson match, was how flawless of a technician he was. Really, a lot like Dean Malenko, where it doesn't seem that he has to think what's coming next. And I don't agree. Do you remember any advice that he gave or talked about as far as flowing from hold to hold? Because that seems to always be the one thing when I see a young wrestler.
These are the days of me having very little interaction with the locker room, because it was get there, set up. All right, now I have to go to the merch table. If I had, at this point, there weren't dark matches really for us, and it was very few and far between getting put in a main show match because I didn't belong there. And then it was, go to the merch table, go to ringside to film, go back to the merch table at intermission, go back to ringside to film, and now tear down, load up. So my level of interaction at this point with the locker room was so limited because of how much shit I had on my plate. It shows. As I said, yet another reason as to why I quit doing camera work after Nowhere to Run.
Well,
or at least doing ringside camera work, I should say.
Yeah, because you did a lot of the backstage promos and things of that nature.
Yeah, later I would, yeah.
This episode of An Honorable Mention is presented by It'sADVDProduct.com, your exclusive home for Honorable Mention shirts and hoodies inspired by the show, like the Sid Tribute shirt. Hey, pal. The Tribute to the Trainer Zip-Up hoodie. Keep calm and send Dark City. Slap the Porpoise. The Wrongtown Racket Club. And Honorable Mention logo shirts and hoodies. It'sADVDProduct.com. Your home for merchandise that's worthy of an honorable mention.
So this match evolves into this competitive struggle. Gibson is constantly working to get Aries to tap out with the trailer hitch. Aries is getting to the ropes. Various things are happening to where Aries gets away from it. And Aries dodges a moonsault and hits a crucifix bomb for a 2 count. He heads to the top rope for the 450. He's not going to hit it because he didn't hit the brainbuster before it. And Gibson moves out of the way. They would then go right into the finish, and they would start trading brainbusters with the crowd absolutely going nuts. Probably as hot as they were the whole night.
Yeah.
Aries gets the last one. The ref counts them both down. They both kick out at 2. Gibson goes for the Tiger Driver. Aries reverses it into another brainbuster. Gibson grabs Aries' leg and is declared the winner as the crowd goes insane. I mean, the roof of the Dorchester National Guard Armory blown off sky high. You guys are now buying a new roof. Or you're just taping a bunch of DVDs together and sticking them across the ceiling. The referee then shows that it was in fact a double pin, and the tie goes to the winner. Therefore, Austin Aries retains his title at 22 minutes and 37 seconds. And the crowd is booing Austin Aries.
Which is weird. I mean, they're booing Aries, but it's the one lingering thing I had during the whole match is Aries isn't a heel, really. I don't even know at what point. I guess it was because of the embassy that Gen Next officially turns babyface, but Aries doesn't wrestle the match like a heel. Commentary doesn't treat him like a heel. Nope. In fact, they heap praise on him for his list for dethroning Samoa Joe, for the list of competitors he's defeated as champion. There's nothing about Aries that is heel, but he hasn't turned babyface per se either. He's not pandering to the crowd, babyface.
But I think it's almost a compliment toward Gibson being so beloved by the fans.
Yeah.
De facto Aries is the bad guy.
Yeah. They're not actually booing Aries. They're booing that Gibson didn't win the belt. Right. And they're booing against anything going against James Gibson. And it's so hard because there's so many people over the course of time in Ring of Honor that fans have rallied behind, but nobody got rallied behind quite like Gibson. Obviously Joe and Homicide and their runs were big, but I really think, and Brian as well, even though he was trying to be a heel most of the time, with Gibson, it was just, he didn't have to do anything. But because he put the effort in, fans, myself included, just sucked right in. And I've got to tell you, I love the finish of this match. I love the idea that Gibson is hosed out of the title. And what we'll talk about a little bit later completes the night. So we move on. The referee says that if both men agree, he'll restart the match. And Gibson agrees. Aries starts to think about it, but Alex Shelley, that dickhead, attacks him from behind, hits the shell shock. And no self-respecting referee would restart this. Now, Gibson is furious. And every other ROH fan in the Dorchester National Guard Armory is pissed that Alex Shelley has ruined things. The shell shock is not a good move as a sneak attack because it requires fumbling around like a jackass to get into the proper position to hit the move. He should have just done something else because it's awkward and weird as he fumbles to get Aries into position to hit the move.
Yeah. Wasn't quite exactly the smoothest of things, but just send him out there with a chair and be done with it.
Yeah, but now that Shelley's babyface-ish, so he's not going to come chair swinging, I suppose. He just, I don't know, should have just done something different.
A lot of shades of gray.
To not be so fumbly in the execution of this. That's a little nitpicky thing, but it bugged me.
Well, if you're doing the shell shock...
the other thing that bugged me is the incessant talk about the back injury. I mean, I know that was the story, but they spend the entire match talking about Gibson's injured back from 2 weeks prior at Super Juniors.
Thanks, that dickhead Dragon Soldier B.
Wow, Roddy.
I'm blaming Dragon Soldier B. He's the blame for everything. The worst. So we get the no restart of the match. Gibson is pissed. This would lead to another title shot down the road for him in Dayton. And
the final showdown.
Yes, it's the final showdown. boy, when we cover that show one day, that there's some stories on that night not thrilled to talk about, but we'll talk about them here on an honorable mention. One of the interesting parts of this show is we get a break in between the two main events. And Pete Doherty, a supposed local legend, makes his way down to the ring.
The Duke of Dorchester!
You know, you aren't really a local legend when the Ring of Honor has to remind fans where they have seen you.
I feel like he just stumbled into the building and we're like, all right, yeah, fine. I just remember being weird. And
Gabe loved Pete Doherty, is the story I remember.
Wouldn't surprise me. But just,
you know, Gabe's a Boston guy. Pete Doherty's the Duke of Dorchester, so I feel like that was the connection. Was like he lived in Dorchester.
I prefer to think it was a homeless man who wandered into the building, and we just felt bad for him, so we put him in the ring.
He was a job guy, WWE, WWF.
Yeah. But it just been an awful segment, and I think the best part of this segment is Jay Train's selling of Pete Doherty's alleged clothesline, and Brian throwing the worst punches Brian has ever thrown in his life during this entire segment.
So Homicide and Julius Smokes, they start to beat up on the old Duke of Dorchester, and Brian makes the save with a baseball bat.
No, he steals the bat that Smokes had.
Well, Smokes had the bat, but Brian is using it to make the save.
Yeah.
And this was 30 seconds worth.
Yep. Yeah, it was longer than that.
You know,
This was his WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
Dorchester. This was his WrestleMania moment.
Yeah.
He struts his shit around like he's working the Boston Garden.
Very true. But before we head to our main event, it is time to pay the bills. So our main event tonight is the best of 5 series match number 4. It's a lumberjack match. Homicide versus Bryan Danielson. So I have a drastic complaint at the start of this match.
What?
Both guys were just out here at ringside.
Yeah.
They get their full entrances.
Early with the graphic that said earlier in the night.
I don't recall the graphic.
Yes,
at
there's
all.
a graphic that says earlier in the night.
But I don't think it was earlier.
It was.
It was?
Yes. There's a graphic that says earlier in the night. This was not one continuous scene.
I completely felt like
No.
now. Okay, so now I'm not as hostile.
Brian has street clothes on. It's not like he went backstage, did a quick change, and came back out in his to his Imperial. I think this was his Imperial March theme time frame.
The Star Wars one.
Yes,
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I also used that as entrance music.
Oh yeah.
I did before Brian. At a Worldwide Wrestling Alliance show or two, and then in the end of 2004, early 2005, I'm pretty sure it predates Brian using it. So it was mine before it was yours.
Oh, he stole that, and he stole the small package.
But he would have never known he stole it from me. There's no reason. We'll just
You Star Wars people. Mm-hmm. I don't understand it. Well, the Lumberjacks are a bunch of security guards. We've got ROH school students and local wrestlers. Anybody notable out there at ringside you'd like to point out?
Well, Pelly, Bobby, Derek, a maskless Smedley, Antonio Blanca, Jade, and all I remember. And that's even visually, that's all I could see. Mm-hmm. As far as like who jumped out at me. The guy with the obnoxious red hair. I would never have put him as a lumberjack. because it's such a distraction. I would never put that as a lumberjack.
So this
also, least impressive lumberjacks in the history of lumberjack matches.
That's what I was going into.
Yes, worst lumberjacks in the history of lumberjack matches. I mean, I would like, yeah. Like,
So
Gabe just reached out to whichever local guy and was like, "Yo, maybe it was Brian. Oh, I just forgot Brian's last name. Collision Pro, and we worked a
Brian
few shows
Fury?
for him. No.
It's the only Boston Brian I know.
I know, no, but maybe it was at it, but yeah, I mean, he was definitely at the show. Brian, I can't remember. He worked at ran the Collision Pro shows that we worked, but I don't know. Like we worked out to somebody who were like, can you just send some guys to the buildings? We need lumberjacks and yeah.
So can I ask a really stupid question?
Sure.
So this is a blood feud, basically, between Homicide and Bryan Danielson.
Yes.
Why don't you have your main roster guys out there? Because clearly they're on the same level with Homicide and Bryan. And no offense to Pelly or Bobby or Smash or Blanca or any of those guys.
They were just students at this point.
How were they possibly going to stop the Notorious 187 and the American Dragon?
Well, I think that's kind of one of the funniest parts of this lumberjack match is like the first time everybody goes outside and the lumberjacks run away.
Yeah,
one
they're
of my
useless.
favorite spots of this entire match is like the first time one of the times Brian goes to the outside, he literally just shoves Pelly on his ass. He just like slides out and shoves Pelly.
And like inside, Bryan Danielson is laughing probably as hard as you are.
Laughing at him, yeah. It's a pathetic attempt at a lumberjack match as far as that goes. I mean, at least the lumberjack match that we talked about in the archives at Wrestling at the Gateway. It was a lumberjack strap match. Is that what it was? Was that Wrestling at the Gateway? Yes. No, it was in Jersey. At Injustice 2. I think it was. Okay. At least that felt like they had the straps, and we were told basically if anybody goes outside, beat the shit out of them. And I feel like this time it was don't touch anybody. People were just scared to touch Homicide.
Wouldn't you be?
Yeah.
He's a tough son of a bitch. Yeah. And Julius Smokes has a baseball bat.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the other ridiculous parts of this is that Gabe is on commentary as under the Jimmy Bauer persona, and he spends like a good 2 minutes rationalizing Pete Doherty's appearance in the middle of Danielson grabbing a hammerlock. So he's grabbing a hold and he's just talking over the hold. Pete Doherty, local legend. I hate this whole thing.
Yeah, this was the worst match of the Best of 5 series
by a country mile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a terrible match. It's just a horrible stipulation.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of lumberjack matches. Period.
Correct. Same with
and so when it's a lumberjacks are all random, Joe out there as a lumberjack, Punk, Gibson, Roddy, the actual Steen, Generico. Like, it's a little more impressive.
Mr.
But
MMA himself, Vordell Walker.
But
throw him out there.
It's not like we have this deep roster where we can just throw the Hawkins and Riders of the world out there. Red-haired guy and Jason Blade were the Hawkins and Ryder for 2005 Ring of Honor, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
It's just when you work with what you can do. It's not like we don't have some deep budget where we can. All right, I don't think he's going to ask Joe to go out and be a lumberjack and to save him for the run-in at the end.
Yeah, I guess from a sense, I just don't know how much what's the price tag on being a lumberjack.
No.
You know, is it worth it, or could you have gone with some other stipulation at this point in the feud?
But then you don't get the cool suplex spot that got fucked up the first time, and then they just have to stand around and redo it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I agree. I say, yeah, just not a fan of lumberjack stipulation. And, well, I don't think you would have gotten Samoa Joe and Kevin Steen and El Generico to just walk into to an airplane spin on the floor.
No.
And sell it like a gunshot. There's some silliness in this match as well that's only works because you have the nameless cannon fodder putties around ringside as opposed to anybody of value.
Pelly and Bobby have some value. Derek has some value.
They had absolutely
not at that time.
No value in April of 2005.
Correct. You also wouldn't get the reveal of the other member of the Rottweilers. One of the lumberjacks runs into the ring, hits Danielson with a Cobra Clutch slam. He takes off his sweater and reveals a Rottweiler t-shirt. This is when Julius Smokes would choke on Danielson with a bat until...
You don't even give EC Negro a name? That's who that was. It was EC Negro.
Oh my God. Didn't even recognize him. That's how far out of sight, out of mind all those old Jersey All-Pro shows. The Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yep.
DRS. I don't remember his partner.
EC Negro and...
Casey Blade?
Yes, sir. Good job there.
Yeah. It'll come back to me, you know. Maybe one day on Patreon we'll watch JP show. We'll see what indie wrestling was like everywhere else. But it's amazing because in this feud, so far, what are the stipulations we've had?
First match, we had the taped fist match. That was one at Dayton.
Yeah, would have been at the anniversary show.
Yeah. Was there a submission match?
No, I don't think so.
God, I'm forgetting. It's been so long. I remember, yeah, literally the only thing I remember are the cage match, the lumberjack match, and the taped fist match.
I'm curious.
I don't remember what.
Because I think there could have been several different ideas that you could have done here. I don't think there's a reason that this needed to be a lumberjack match.
No. And
even, at the end, you have Lethal and Joe making the save. Joe hits Smokes with an leg kick for good measure. That got a nice reaction. Homicide blocks a superplex and hits the Ace Crusher for 2. He tries the cop killer. Danielson reverses to the Regalplex. Homicide hits the just wild lariat and attempts the cop killer again.
Kojima!
Which, speaking of Kojima, and since this is kind of a timely thing, Ring of Honor announced for their War of the Worlds tour that Kojima would be making his Ring of Honor debut.
They announced he was making his debut?
In a press release today.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. I need to see this. All right.
Yeah. Debut.
Continue.
Homicide no-sells the Regalplex. That kind of pissed me off a little bit because that's just not something I would no-sell. And then Brian locks on the cattle mutilation, gets the win, 24 minutes, 46 seconds. That was long. It wasn't great. Lumberjack stipulation just kills it for me. Too many bodies, too many moving parts, too much gaga. And these two guys had, killed each other for the most part. When I'm watching a blood feud like this, you could have gone to a first blood stipulation. There's so many other ways you could have gotten to this, and instead you're going for gaga. and just felt unnecessary.
And it's not a good not a good stipulation. Like I said, the work's fine. You're not getting a bad match out of Bryan and Homicide like this. It was just bleh. And I said it's basically the big spot with the superplex to the floor on top of all the lumberjacks. It's one of those spots in wrestling that's like visually impressive but ridiculous, that the falling bodies of these two men literally just knocked 25 other men down.
Bowling pins.
Yeah, it was just silly.
I just in the lexicon of Ring of Honor, this was probably the worst Homicide Danielson match, and that Best of 5 series is remembered so fondly, in my eyes at least, having gotten to see 3 of the 5 matches, 2 of the 5 matches. No, 3 of the 5 matches.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that this lumberjack match, I'm glad I wasn't at it. Just didn't do much for me.
Did you ever go to a show in Boston?
I went to several Boston area shows. I did not go to the Dorchester Armory. I went to several at BU. There was the one in Roxbury. I was at that place. I don't remember what that building was called. I think my first Boston show
Roxbury Crossing
would have been in early 06, maybe?
Okay.
Early 06 or like March, maybe? I don't remember what the first Boston show I was at was.
So I'm currently providing Ring of Honor's Twitter page with a link to Final Battle 2003 episode available in the archive, so they can, find out Kojima was actually there before.
Well, it appears as if they have deleted their original post.
I just read it.
You found it?
It still says Kojima's debut.
Oh, man. Because I'm clicking on my reply on Twitter, and they are not linking to it. However, the show must go on.
Yeah.
Because we have the aftermath as they go off the air. And in the aftermath of the show, a parental advisory precedes a curse-laden James Gibson promo. James Gibson, booger and all, says following: Austin Aries, Alex Shelley, I don't know why or what just happened, but you two robbed me. You robbed me of my chance to be Ring of Honor champion, world champion, not to be labeled, not to be considered a cruiserweight, a small guy, some type of light heavyweight, the B champion on the B show, but you stole my big opportunity to be the #1 man in a great company. A company that gave me a platform to redeem myself. A company that's going to be proud to have me as champion. And a company I'll be proud to represent. Austin Aries, tonight you got lucky. I don't know what kind of scam or what kind of bullshit you guys try to pull on me. I'm still trying to figure out how 1 minute I'm Ring of Honor champion, and the next minute you're taking off my belt and I'm stuck with my dick in my fucking hand. This is bullshit, all. Austin Aries, I want my rematch, I want my belt, and I'm coming for your ass. Boy, you ain't got nowhere to hide. You ain't fucking safe. As long as you in Ring of Honor and I'm after you, I'm after that title, and it's coming home with me because I fucking deserve it.
Well done. Armadillo!
Yes. Spanky is there side by side. He consoles James Gibson, and Gabe yells cut as Gibson screams, bullshit!
Well done.
I've had that James Gibson in my back pocket for a long time, and occasionally I bust that out every once in a great while, along with my Mike Quackenbush voice.
Which is voice?
Yes, I do. I'm Mike Quackenbush. I'm going to buck Chikara. That's my Mike Quackenbush voice. It kind of sounds like Turtle a little bit. I've never actually had a conversation with Quackenbush, so that's just how I imagine he sounds. But the line about "I'm stuck with my dick in my fucking hand" is something I have used 150 times over the years. I kind of referenced the story off air with you, but I had a client in my real job that was dragging me along about signing a contract and sending a check, and we were going on like 6 weeks where I had a signed contract with no check, and I had access to their database, and I shared that client with my mom, who's in the same business that I am, but works on the corporate side of things. And I referenced how I was standing here with a contract and my dick in my hand to my mother, and the level of embarrassment and disgust that could be felt through FaceTime was quite heavy. But that's how I felt, waiting for that money. And I eventually got paid and did the job, and I've worked with that client several times since. But I've never before this promo heard that phrase, "stuck with my dick in my fucking hand," but this was just fucking beautiful. It's the greatest promo in Ring of Honor history. And
fuck Punk's Wrestle Rave promo. It's this
yeah,
one.
This one is better than Wrestle Rave. This one is better than every single other one ever done. Period. End of report. Better than Punk after he won the belt. Better than Joe when he declared war on CZW. Just absolute art in its finest. And I've never asked Gibson about this because I haven't talked to him in years. But I imagine he felt like he just cut a fucking home run banger of a promo.
Probably.
After he was done.
It's certainly popped the locker room. Popped the boys for sure, anybody who heard it.
Because even Spanky's got like this big smirk on his face that he tries to cover at one point when he turns his head. And wow, this is the all-timer. This is the sole reason this show was done this week.
Yeah, yep.
Because I wanted to do the Gibson promo, and I've been hyping this up that I could do the impersonation and deliver. And maybe it's not as good as Bruce Pritchard's James Gibson, but man, I was so excited to do this. So thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity to unleash. But the verbiage in the promo itself of I want my rematch, I want my belt, and I'm coming for your ass. When people saw this, when the DVD was out, if there was somebody that was on the fringe with Gibson, they now had jumped on the bandwagon. Definitely. This is the ultimate promo rallying cry for a babyface, and yeah, maybe you could do without the F-bombs and the bullshits if you're doing this on TV, but if you find a babyface on TV that needs to get the crowd behind him and they've been screwed out of the title, Exit 101 right here. This is beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Very well.
Yep. And it endures with anyone who was around to see it. Anyone who has seen this, or from that time frame, Ring of Honor, if you were just to say I'm standing around with my dick in my hand, they're gonna know exactly what you're talking about, exactly what you're referring to. And I feel like I was just doing Paul Giamatti Billions right there when I was going exactly.
Exactly. The greatest actor of this generation. Well, Alex Shelley's up next. He's got to follow James Gibson. He's got no chance. He says he'll do things differently if he could go back and redo the last 4 months. He says what separates him from animals is that he learns from his mistakes. And considering the fact that animals are capable of changing their habits through conditioning, Shelley seems to be a little off point here. He's ready to be the aggressor in the feud against Gen next, and Aries and Strong try a sneak attack. Shelley fights them off and runs away.
Yeah, just everything. It's just with everything about the Shelley Gen next feud is weird to me. Is it just like an ill fit?
Who's the baby face? Who's the heel?
Babyface Shelley is just an ill fit on him.
Correct. Because he's a smarmy prick. In character form, not the real person.
Yeah.
But he belonged as a heel permanently. And we go from there. We get a nice graphic with Chris Candido since he had just passed. And that ends the show. Ends the stalemate. And we can continue on. But we do have some questions this week. Mike Mills. 2 questions from Mike this week. Did Shane and Gabe ever talk about Steen or Generico being anything other than Joe Bears?
No. Gabe didn't exactly have conversations with me about how he was going to use most people. No. There's no conversation of.
And then his second question was the double Jeopardy match. Easy for me to say. Wouldn't it make sense to go switch the order of title opportunities? And that's something we talked about.
Yeah. And Jeff says yes. I say no.
That wraps up Stalemate. Any final thoughts on the show itself before we head into our plugs and such?
Yeah, it was a nice little trip back down memory lane. I'd give it overall a thumbs up for the quality of the title match alone. The quality of the double Jeopardy match gives it a thumbs up. Spanky and Lethal give it the thumbs up. Roddy and Generico, there's enough, Obviously, you got the low points of Vordell and Steen, the Kruel and Punk segment, which was more just angle than match. That's all just a big giant angle setup. Overall, the show is a thumbs up for me.
Well, James Gibson did that promo, so thumbs up.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
If that promo was on unscripted, you would have given unscripted a double thumbs up.
I would have. I would put that just on a DVD by itself, and I'd have bought it. That was fucking incredible. And I will say this, a lot of the stuff on this show still holds up well 14 years later, which I think is a testament to the quality of Jay Lethal and Spanky, Aries and Gibson, Generico and Strong, the double Jeopardy match, the 4 corners, even the singles portion to finish with Nigel and Shelley, I thought was a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Yep.
So that wraps up Stalemate. We want to remind everyone to support the show. Patreon.com/anhonorablepod. You get the shows early. You get them ad-free. You get the show on video for $12 a month. Exclusive watch-alongs, including the HDNet bonus series. And other bonus shows coming down the line for as low as $4 a month, as expensive as $12 a month. You also net a free DVD from my personal collection, Dropbox for international customers, and U.S. Postal Service for local U.S. residents in the key 48 states. Hawaii and Alaska excluded. They get Dropbox treatment. I also want to let everybody know that you get 15% off coupon to itsadvdproduct.com, where you can buy shirts, hoodies, hats, stickers, all supporting the Honorable Mention brand. And some inside jokes from the show, and other cool looking t-shirts like the Captain Safety t-shirt. I know we talked about Brent Albright today. A lot more coming your way over at itsadvdproduct.com. And if you place an order, you get a DVD of your choice as well. So little enticement to support the show. Advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. That's advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. If you'd like to support the show via advertising, got an independent show coming up, want to get on and plug your events, we'll do your plugs, and you'll reach a lot of ears. Probably a lot more ears than will be buying tickets without using us to plug your event. Collar and Elbow. Use the promo code AHM. 10% off your order. And, most importantly, a little bit of that order money gets kicked back to us. We are brought to you by the Creative Control Network. So be sure to follow the head of the Creative Control Network, Mr. Joe Feeney, on Twitter at JFF, NEY, 3RD, and at the CC Network 1 on Twitter for all the latest news and notes. Be sure to follow our scientist of sound, our astronaut of audio, our purveyor of production, the bassmaster general, the technician of treble, the best broadcast machine, the award-winning Mr. Zach Johnson on Twitter and Instagram at RadioZT, as he delivers us the best intro that you've already heard and the best outro that you're going to eventually hear, and make sure we sound cooler than the other side of the pillow. We also would like to thank our presenting sponsor this week, Tiege Hanley Skincare.
Used mine this morning. Woke up this morning with Tiege Hanley on my face. It's good stuff. Nice and smooth. Smell nice, like some eucalyptus. Yeah.
And if you'd like to...
I'm enjoying this, and I literally have never used skincare products in my entire life, and I'm glad I got this one.
Yeah, I really enjoy the Tiege Hanley. Going through my beard every day makes it smell nice, cleans out my pores, and you too can be a part of the Tiege Hanley team by using the promo code Honorable Mention. 20% off your first box. Honorable Mention, all one word, and you can be a part of the Tiege Hanley regimen, like Shane Hagedorn and myself. This episode of an Honorable Mention you are listening to right now is available on iTunes, Spreaker, our newest host. We'd like to welcome them aboard the team.
The home for all the Creative Control Network programs.
So Spreaker is the place you can get the entire archive of shows. It's the newest, coolest podcasting app out there, and they do a lot of work with ESPN's 30 for 30, the Serial podcast, and now the Creative Control Network and the flagship of the Creative Control Network, an Honorable Mention. Google Music Play Store, Spotify, Amazon Echo, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, Hipcast, and if we're under 3 hours, SoundCloud. Our upcoming schedule. Next week, Good Times, Great Memories. May 7th, we've got a special interview. May 14th, the Manhattan Mayhem poll, which drops tomorrow on Twitter. And
Mayhem 1, 3, 5, and 7.
And May 21st is our last scheduled show that we've decided the specific show we're going to cover. And it's going to be Super Card of Honor 6 / We've Been Sold. Talk a little bit about Super Card of Honor 6, if you will.
It was in Chicago.
And you found out you had been sold.
Well, everyone else found out we had been sold.
Thank you. That's what I was looking
going to say. I say it became public knowledge that we had been sold. It wasn't the day that I found out.
The day that the roster found out.
The day that the roster had an edict to wear shirts and ties. Yeah. Yep.
The evil empire now owning Ring of Honor.
Yes. That was a hell of a day. That was a hell of a day.
Yes, it was. I was at that show.
Yeah. Nice.
A lot of interesting perspectives there. So
that's not the last show we have scheduled. We just have.
Well, we don't have May 28th booked. June 4th. Yeah. June 11th, we will be covering World Title Classic.
Exactly.
June 18th, should we cover Punk winning the belt?
That sounds exactly what we should do on June 18th.
My dad's 65th birthday.
14 years to the day.
That's before Dishonor 3, June 18th. You heard a show booked live on air.
Very nice.
And June 25th, we don't have anything scheduled yet.
No. So if anybody has any show ideas, anything you'd like to hear us talk about, tweet it at us, Facebook it at us.
And you can tweet it at us at an honorable pod. You want to slide into those DMs? You want to hit us with an at at an honorable pod. You can slide into our Instagram DMs with suggestions, also at an honorable pod. You can message me on Twitter at the Jeff Schwartz, Instagram at the Jeff Schwartz, Facebook, drop the partner. Where can they message you about show suggestions?
At Hagedorn and Shane on Twitter, or at Hagedorn and Shane on Instagram. Just straight up Shane Hagedorn on Facebook. And hell, if you want to send us a video suggestion, you can do that on YouTube as well. Just search me, Shane Hagedorn, or an honorable mention.
And head over to Facebook, facebook.com/an-honorable-pod. Click like. That's the only places you can suggest those shows for those open dates, and we're happy to hear your ideas. We'd love to do a show for you guys. Before we wrap this week up, I do want to take time to thank everyone that has reached out to me regarding the passing of my grandfather. My pops was 92. I was very fortunate to get the last 2+ months with him, courtesy of my grandmother, who passed away in February, and they were a shining example during times of trouble for me, and they're going to be both greatly missed. But my pops was my best friend, my hero, and I think he would say this, most importantly, he was my grandfather. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have somebody in their life that is that kind of a role model. And he left an irreplaceable mark on my life and on the lives of my brother and my cousins, my dad, my Uncle Bill, even his 2 daughter-in-laws, even when they didn't see eye to eye on things. Ironically enough, I joked at the funeral that his final little twist to bust my mom's chops was that he turned the temperature in Northeast Ohio down to a sultry 39 degrees at funeral time the day after a rainstorm. So my parents, obviously living in Florida, don't like that kind of weather. And that was his final pot shot against their move to South Florida. So he's going to be really, really missed. And I just want to thank everybody for their kind words of encouragement. I've heard from so many people in and out of the wrestling business, listeners of this show, our patrons on Patreon, friends, family. My pops was a man of many words and an outspoken man, and he had one mantra that he always told me, and he used to tell me to keep my chin up. So I'm going to add that to our outro. So having said all that, I'm going to miss my grandfather a lot, but he and my grandmother are now officially back to being the tag team champions that they were when they were on planet Earth. And I got one on each shoulder now, so I'm good to go. I'm balanced out again. And there's only one thing left to do this week, and that's to quote the great Sal Rinauro. No need to trip out. It's time to dip out. Slap the porpoise. This one's over. We're out. Keep your chin up. We'll see you guys next week for good times, great memories.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful